you, I'ma give what you love. I got to
Well, good afternoon. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. Woohoo! Let me pull this off. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and I am your host on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 1 to 4 p.m. All of this I'm kind of moving behind. Mike is out again today. I have Eric Nixon. Thank you, Eric, for jumping in to make sure that mother is okay. I had Jordan yesterday for my birthday, so that was good. And so here we go. While I wait for Dr. Ayla Stanford to call in to give us an update, I wanted to share something with you. I went live on the Facebook at the Pennsylvania House to watch the swearing in of some new members. And so it warmed my heart to see that Napoleon Nelson, District 154, Regina Young, District 155, Ahmed Brown, District 190, Darisha Parker Miller, District 198, were all sworn in. I could not stay on the line long enough to see Joanna McClinton, Madam Joanna McClinton get sworn in because I had to be live on the air, but I wanted to say congratulations to all of those people. I also wanted to acknowledge and say rest in peace to Mike Reese, who died suddenly for brain aneurysm. He tested positive for COVID, and then at the age of 42, this six-term Republican member died on January 2nd of an apparent brain aneurysm. One of the things that I want to talk to Dr. Ayla about when she gets on the line, because the long haulers, the medical field has been talking about these long haulers who get COVID, recover from it, and then all of a sudden things start to shift. Mike Reese represented the Westmoreland and Somerset counties, so to his family members who would have been there today at the Pennsylvania House to see him sworn in again, that's not going to happen. And so, you know, we want to send our condolences to his family. He was a Republican member of the House for the Somerset and Westmoreland counties. And so here we are. It's another day. So much for me to discuss with you. As we're talking to each other, Georgia is now having its Senate runoff. Okay, the Georgia Senate is having its Senate runoff, and the shenanigans are happening. We notice that in most elections, black and brown folks are, they vote early and send their ballots in early. And on the day of the elections, we see quite a few white folks turning up. And it was interesting to me as I watched the news reports this morning, for as much as I possibly could, that it's been interesting. Folks are still saying that they believe President Trump, that the election was rigged, and that they believe President Trump did win the election. And so we have to be really mindful and pay attention to everything that is going on out here in these streets, right? I will be giving you follow-up as I get breaking news around that, because we just need to talk about it and what it is going to mean for us. So crazy what's happening. Thank you for the happy birthday wishes, Catherine Washington. I appreciate all of you. Hi, Kim Cat and Malcolm, all these folks on Facebook Live. Let me just make sure that Dr. Ayla is ready. When she is ready, just let me know, Eric, and we'll move forward. Something I wanted to share with you all while I'm waiting for Dr. Ayla. Los Angeles County ambulance crews are being told to not transport patients with little chance of survival. Imagine having cardiac arrest and getting picked up by an ambulance that won't take you to a hospital, or having a medical emergency and languishing outside an emergency room for hours. This is what Los Angeles County faces as the onslaught of COVID-19 devastates the community, including those without coronavirus, something that every doctor has been talking about. Jesus be offense. Hospitals are declaring internal disasters and having to open church gyms to serve as hospital units, County Supervisor Hilda Salas said. Our healthcare workers are physically and mentally exhausted and sick. And so they're telling people, all right, good. They're telling people that more than 7,600 people are hospitalized with COVID-19 in just Los Angeles County alone, and 21% of them are at the intensive care units, officials said on Monday. And every 15 minutes, one person dies from COVID-19, Los Angeles County Director of Public Health, Barbara Ferrer, says. Dr. Ayla Stanford, are you there?
Yes, I am. How are you?
So, like, you're like my sister in my head, right?
Aw.
One of my favorite people. Every time I talk to you, I remember us sitting in that studio on March 10th. It was your children's birthday, and we talked, and then stuff just started spiraling out of control. And I will never forget you, because I swear you stopped me from getting COVID. Remember me saying that I wanted to go see my son, and I was going to fly to Texas? Remember?
And
you
said,
told me.
Have to go.
What did you tell me, Dr. Ayla?
I said, do you absolutely have to go? And I was trying to convince you to drive.
Yes.
And it just wasn't worth it at the time. The risk was not worth the benefit.
You also said to me, you were the very first person on record, and I want you to know this, that said anywhere live that they're telling us not to wear masks, but you said because they're wearing masks in China, it stands to reason that this could be a viral thing that floats through the air, and you told us to wear our masks. Remember that?
I remember because there were things they were saying in the media that as a medical professional, just did not add up.
And so let me just let folks know who are living under a rock somewhere that may not know who you are. Dr. Ayla Stanford, MD, FAAP, FACS, is an experienced physician with an impeccable record of delivering patient care. Her business has blossomed into founding the Real Concierge Medicine, and she now runs the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium, of which I am thrilled to say that she began as a direct result of just talking to people over and again, being here on the air with me, and realizing that Black and brown people were not being served in their communities. Dr. Ayla Stanford has also recently taken the COVID-19 vaccine, which made my husband and I decide. We watched you live taking that thing. And you made us decide that we were going to take it, but we're facing so many people who aren't. So give us the update. I have plenty of time to talk to you. Give them over the update.
Okay. So thank you for that, Andrea. What can I say? I heard some of the statistics out of LA County, which, my brother lives, and my nephews and my sister-in-law, so it's tough, to hear, every 6 seconds someone's diagnosed with coronavirus. I mean, just unbelievable. They've canceled all elective procedures, so only emergent operations, only emergent visits are warranting a visit to your doctor. And we are not there in Pennsylvania. I hope we don't get there, but it just lets us know what's in store if people are really not heeding the advice. And we know what that is. It's not traveling unless you absolutely have to travel. And if you do travel, that you travel by car, that you're not getting out at rest stops, that you're staying at a relative's home where you can quarantine for a period of time, not a hotel, of course, where people are coming from all over the world and you're potentially contracting it. The other way that it passes, aside from traveling, is small gatherings, particularly at your home where you let your guard down. Weddings, funerals, baby showers, wedding showers, and things like that. Funerals, church services, spreading. Other ways, we talked about is the indoor dining. And because if you've ever seen people eat in a restaurant, they take the mask down, and that mask stays on their chin most of the time. It's not they take a bite, they put their mask back on.
Right.
It's not they take a sip, they put the mask back on. And so those are the ways that we know it's continuing to spread. Regarding the vaccine, yes, there are many who are unsure, Black, white, and brown, and yellow for that matter, that are not sure. But this much I can tell you, there is a shortage. There is not enough vaccine to go around for everyone. There is not. And there have been discussions about rationing, cutting doses in half, and things like that, which may not confer the same immunity and protection. That is correct. And so what I would say to folks on that front is that you have to decide, is it more risky for me to take the vaccine, or is it more risky for me to contract coronavirus? And you know what your health status is. You know what your profession is. So if you're in direct communication or direct contact with the public on a constant basis, then your risk is fairly high. So unless you can afford to quit your job, you're going to be constantly exposed, and you may want to think hard about taking the vaccine and not refusing it when your time comes. I get my second dose tomorrow. So for folks who have been asking me how it was, how I felt, I get the second dose tomorrow. I can tell you after the first, initially my stomach was a little queasy. My arm was definitely sore. I had a bit of a headache, all of which subsided in a few hours. But the next day, I was exhausted. I mean, I sat in a chair for 12 hours, recliner, and hardly did anything. I didn't have the energy to do anything. So that's about what I've heard in terms of the extremes of people having side effects. So I get my second dose tomorrow, and I'll let you know, maybe on Thursday, how I'm feeling.
Please do. Please do.
Yeah.
If you could call in. You have become the voice for, at least on my show, right? I have decided for 2021, as a direct result of you, that I am going to have a doctor on at least once a month to talk about what we need to know, not just about COVID-19, Dr. Ayla, but our own general health, right? I think that we tend to, because we have such a distrust of the medical industry for good reason. We have seen time and again people who have requested service. One was a doctor who was 52 years old, who happened to be the aunt of a friend of mine that I grew up with in Jamaica. And she made national news because she kept asking for help and wouldn't get it. I also saw your misgiving as you were getting your vaccine, because you said, I am a doctor, but I'm also a Black woman. So you understand what it is like. But what I appreciate about you, Dr. Ayla, is that despite your misgivings, you're saying to us the other side of that coin is just not worth it, right? Let's try to figure out how to get as many people inoculated as possible, because so many more are going to die.
Right. And so many of us are the ones dying. And, when people talk about, I don't want to be a guinea pig, I don't want to be the first one to take it. Well, first of all, 20,000 people in the Pfizer study took it before you, and 15,000 people in the Moderna study took it. So 35,000 people, 9% of whom were African American and Latinx, took the vaccine before you. So it's not as if you're the guinea pig, so to speak. Right. If anything, those 35,000 people were. If anything, I was. Right? Also, the president-elect has taken it. The vice president, elect has taken it. Dr. Fauci has taken it. The Surgeon General, if those people matter to you in some regard, have taken it. And I think the beautiful thing is because people have gotten different one, like myself and President-elect Biden have gotten Pfizer. Moderna was Dr. Fauci and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. So there's enough of it around that people don't even have to say, well, I only want this one. Well, I only want that one. I mean, those two vaccines we know are most efficacious. Those are the ones that have been approved. Right. Now, the questions I'm getting a lot about are phase 1B. So it's like, when do the rest of us that are not long-term care facilities, that are not healthcare workers, when are we up next? And how do we decide who gets it, right? And on the Vaccine Advisory Committee, at least in Philadelphia, that's what we are going through now, because the CDC has provided guidelines that they said 75 and up should get it. But there's this question about these chronic health conditions, these comorbid conditions that African Americans have that may not be 75. So they're like 35, they're 42, they're 58. And these are the folks that are getting coronavirus, and they're not dying, but they're still sick. They can't go back to work yet.
The long haulers, right?
Yes, the long haulers. They still have residual symptoms. They still can't be productive members in their households. They are the breadwinners, and yet they can't do their job because they're still dealing with the effects of COVID. And so I'm concerned about those people, too, and the chronic health conditions. And, you know, and I can't speak for all 75 and up, but the 75 and up folks that I tend to be around that are not in nursing homes, they're not running the street. They're not at Walmart every day. They're not at Target. They're listening, and they're staying at home and staying away from those grandkids if they can, right? And so we just have to figure out a way to have some balance. And if it means that half the people that get it in this next phase are 75 and up, and the other half have chronic health conditions, that may be how we have to do it. Because if we do either one or the other, we're going to exclude a lot of folks in this next group. And so that's my concern, just making sure that those who need it next, and especially African Americans, because African Americans are being diagnosed and dying at a rate still greater than any other group of people, okay, still in the United States, that is taken into account every time we make a decision on the Vaccine Advisory Committee, every time we make a decision. And my voice is heard and I believe respected when I bring that up over and over again.
Thank you. What about people who are reporters like myself? I meant to text you this morning to ask about that. We need to be on the front lines too. But no one has said anything to us about getting the vaccine. So
I feel like media was either 1C or 2. I did see media listed, and if you ask me on Thursday, I can give you a more definitive response. But I have seen correspondence in media. But I think here's the thing. Because so many people can do it remotely, if you have to decide between yourself and, for example, a SEPTA bus driver.
Give it to the SEPTA bus driver, right.
Exactly. And it's a shame that we even have to do it, right? It's a shame we even have to do it, but that's where we are. I mean, and you may have mentioned this, but I heard this morning that in L.A. County, they're telling ambulance drivers, if you don't think the person is going to survive, don't even bring them to the hospital.
Yeah, I read it. The first thing I read this afternoon was that. And that is what they kept trying to warn people about, Dr. Ayla, that folks still are not listening to. 1.4 million people came through the Atlanta airport 2 days ago. This was after the surge from the Thanksgiving holidays. And I don't think most people are ready for what is getting ready to happen to us, right? They kept saying it's going to be a dark winter, and we keep thinking, well, it's not happening to me. Here's the question that I have for you. In Virginia and Washington, D.C. right now, the hotels are being filled up with Proud Boy members, right? They're coming to...
With what members? Oh,
Proud
for
Boys.
The inauguration.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yes. Proud Boys. Oh, God.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. For tomorrow morning, I have a sibling that lives in Virginia County, and she said they're all over the place, right? So folks are trying to stay away from them, but they're getting ready to congregate in D.C., and to whatever it is that they're planning to do. I call them the modern day version of the Ku Klux Klan, which is led by a Latino, if you can believe it. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, because I try to inform people. They think that this is just pure white folks alone doing this. No. And we need to really know what's going on in this country. And so when you see that kind of stuff happening, can you give us an idea? What happened to Operation Warp Speed? And give us an idea, how long do you think it's going to be past 2022? Because I think 2021 is a wash, honestly.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, Andrea. First with the Proud Boy thing, it's tough because that is a super spreader event. It's a super spreader event when there's so many people in close contact, maybe wearing masks, maybe not wearing masks, coming from wherever they came from that may have already been endemic with rates higher than what we have in Pennsylvania, right? And then going to the restaurants in D.C. or using a restroom or going into the mall, and even though they may leave they're leaving their infection behind, right?
Right.
We already know that the strain that is more contagious is in 3, if not 4 states now across the United States. And though not more deadly, it is more transmissible, which means our rates that now nationally are 1 in 16 people may start to fall to 1 in 5, people have coronavirus. And again, you don't know where you're going to be on that spectrum. If you're going to be someone who has a mild case or no symptoms, or someone who needs a breathing tube and doesn't survive. You don't know. And that's just not a chance that I want to take with my life, with my family, with anyone I love, with anyone. And the fact that people are being reckless and having such disregard for others is, there's really no words for it. I mean, we've been dealing with it for a year. In terms of availability of vaccine,
Dr. Ayla, can you do me a favor? Dr. Ayla, hold on one second. Let me take a quick commercial break so that they don't shoot me at the station. And I'll be right back with you, okay?
Okay.
All right. Thank you. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is a number to call in. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we will be right back after these messages.
This message is from the Philadelphia Department of Public Health. COVID-19 is still a threat in our communities, but we can all do something simple to help stop the spread. It's critically important to wear a mask or face covering whenever you're in public or around others. Yes, even while social distancing. Wearing a mask shows you care for yourself and your community and is essential to slowing the spread of COVID-19. So love yourself, love your neighbors, wear a mask.
Want the latest in WURD swag? Check out the shop tab on WURDradio.com. Hoodies, tees, and more in a variety of colors. The shop tab on WURDradio.com. Show the world that you're all about black. Talk Media. WURD TV. We're streaming live video of this conversation right now. Tune in on YouTube at onWURD or on Facebook at ForWord. WURD TV. Black. Talk Media.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. If you're just joining us, I have on the line with me Dr. Ayla Stanford, who has been at the forefront and is sitting in a position now where they're making decisions on where the vaccines, who should get the vaccines. She's advising folks at the city level, who should be getting the vaccines, et cetera. If I'm saying the wrong thing, Dr. Ayla, just please correct me, because I think that's what I heard you say, correct?
That is correct. So
okay.
On the yes, go ahead. I'm sorry, Andrea.
And so Dr. Ayla and I are discussing that there's been a shortage of the vaccine. We have been discussing, even for those of us who are in media, that if it comes down to it, if they have to choose someone in media versus someone who works for SEPTA, for example, that they would give it to SEPTA. She talked about the fact that she had her first dose of the vaccine and told about some of her symptoms. First day was a little bit of exhaustion, headache, and a little bit of exhaustion, and then the second day she was exhausted completely, but she said she's okay, right? I'm getting that correct,
That's
right?
correct.
She said you were queasy, stomach subsided in a few hours, right? Next day, complete exhaustion. And so we also discussed what's happening in LA County. Which is something that could happen here if we are not careful. And despite the repeated warnings that all we have to do, she says, if you're traveling, do not travel by plane, travel by a car, stay out of the rest stops, stay at a relative's house instead of staying in a hotel, I'll go even further. I had to go see one of my sisters in Virginia and literally did not stop. And if I had to stop, I had a pair of shoes. Dr. Ayla, you're going to laugh at me. I had a pair of shoes that I would put on, wear into the rest stop just to go to the bathroom, right? When I came back out, those shoes would go in a plastic bag and sealed and put in the trunk of my car and put back on so that I wouldn't be tracking whatever is on the floor or in the place in my car, right?
Yeah.
And so, and would not stay at a hotel. So those are the kinds of things, but people still say things like, well, I took I took a test and I came back negative. And to me, it's like, don't you realize that by the time you left and got a negative testing, if you're not careful, you can pick the virus up somewhere else?
Yeah.
Makes no sense to me, Dr. Ayla.
Absolutely. That's just a moment in time. It's just a
Yep.
moment in time.
Yep.
And so it's like when folks say, oh, I'm getting a test because I'm going to go see my new grandbaby, or
Yeah.
I'm going to go travel to see my grandparents. Like, that's okay. But this is what you do. You get your test. You make a beeline home. You don't stop anywhere. You don't
Yes.
interact with anyone who doesn't live in your house. And you sit and wait until your results come back in your house without anyone coming into your home. And you visit your family. They've also had their test. I mean, some would even say that even when you visit, you should still wear a mask.
Yes.
You should still wear a mask, because even though I have some immunity because I've received the vaccine and I had COVID, and I'm about to get my second dose tomorrow of the vaccination, I can still transmit the virus. People need to remember that. You can still transmit it, because if it's in the air and you're not wearing your mask, or you are wearing your mask, and some viral particles are in your nose or are in your airway when someone coughs or sneezes or laughs or even just speaks, you can transmit it to someone else. So the vaccine prevents you from getting sick, right? You're the one who got the shot. Your body makes the antibodies, and it's a protection for you. But if you're around someone who's positive and then you expose them and they don't have immunity, you can still get them sick. So folks have got to remember that.
Yes.
You know, and keep that in mind.
Dr. Ayla, I have one more thing, and I thank you so much, because I know you're busy. I'm going to ask you to tell me where your testing sites are this week. Before we get off the line, I have Dr. Alan Waller on. I might merge the both of you, seriously. Eric, see if you can merge Dr. Waller and Dr. Ayla for me, please. And Dr. Ayla, let me ask you this one last question. In the news for the United Kingdom, Boris Johnson has shut down the entire United Kingdom, right? Thank you. And they were saying, because their transmission now is 1 in probably 5, right? One of the other things that a medical doctor said in the UK, which made my ears prick completely up, was this newest strain, this newest virulent strain, the vaccine doesn't work as well with. Did you hear that?
I did not hear that. And if that came out, it must have just came out in the past 2 hours. Because the virus itself, or the coronavirus and the antibodies that we're generating, it's a crown. So corona means crown, right? And if you can imagine, there are like 12 little spiky parts to the crown. If you take one of those spiky parts of the crown down, you still have 11, right? And so the antibody that is generated still will recognize those 11 pointy pieces, even if there's not 12, right? So that is my understanding. So unless there's another mutated of a mutated of a mutated, I can't imagine that it isn't. And then there's so many different levels. Was it effective against 1 dose, but not effective against 2 doses? Was it the Moderna? Was it the Pfizer? You know what I mean? So before I would stop and say it's not as effective, I'm not going to go with that at all until I see the science and the data. And what we need to be concerned about the most is preventing yourself from getting it from jump. Preventing it. Like we all know, most 8-year-old children, if you ask, how do you prevent yourself from getting coronavirus, can answer that question at this stage in the game. I mean, we've been living this for nearly a year, and we have got to be responsible. I sometimes, if I see someone without a mask, just calmly go over to them and say, hey, you might need this. You know, I keep a box of masks in my car. And say, I'm just trying to protect you, man. You know, just trying to protect you. And so
you're so calming and wonderful. I have Dr. Alan Waller. Dr. Waller, are you there?
Hey, I'm here. How are you?
Listen, so as you can see, all kinds of strifes and confusion, and the virus is still raging for all of us.
Yeah.
I am going to. I. Hold on 1 second, Dr. Waller. I am. Dr. Waller, are you there? Listen, so as you can see, all kinds of strifes and confusion, and the virus is still raging for all of us. I am going to. I am. I. Hold on 1 second, Dr. Waller. I am. I. Hold on 1 second, Dr. Waller. I am. I hold on 1 second, Dr. Waller. I am. I'm trying to take a deep breath in all of this because I have been on the air for over a year talking about the coronavirus. I have had I've had Dr. Ayla on numerous times. I've had other doctors on discussing this. I get a lot of phone calls from folks or emails from folks who say, look, I can't take this thing. I'm very afraid of what this vaccine means. I'm very afraid because of the way Black folks have been treated. And so it's incumbent upon us as leaders in the Black and brown community, wherever your leadership tenants are, to what do we say to people? Do we force people to take the vaccine, or do we just give them the information and hope for the best? Despite what we see happening here. What do we do?
Well, I think, number one, you do what you are doing right now. You've got the Queen on, you got Ayla on, and we got to get the information. I mean, we are Americans, and we believe in individual freedom, and we believe, you can't make anybody do anything. I mean, I get that. What I think we need to do is get the proper information and get the right people giving the information. You got Dr. Ayla on. She's our representative, and I take my lead from her.
Me too.
I believe in what she's done. She's demonstrated to be a person of integrity. I mean, I am, if I'll be honest, I'm not a flu shot guy. I haven't taken the flu vaccine. I have my healthy skepticism around this. But even some of us who have our healthy skepticism, what we have to admit is that what's happening right now is not working, and ignoring it is not working. And we have to follow the science, and we have to treat this like the real thing that it is. And so what I'm very clear of is that mask and social distancing does work. What I am very clear of is that the vaccine does not relinquish our responsibilities from masking and social distancing. And so I think we got to go at it in all ways. Let
me say this. My husband, who had never taken a flu shot in his life, and Dr. Ayla, he's well over 50 years old, stopped by Dr. Ayla's thing. I took him down there, and because it was Dr. Ayla, he took his very first flu shot, and he was fine, And so, your words matter. I love your calming presence because I get flustered. I am out there. I was outside riding my bicycle. People would ride and keep their masks off and sneeze and cough. And I'm like, okay, time for me to come back in the house. And I took my little self in the house, and I've been exercising in the house just from an abundance of caution because I keep seeing Dr. Ayla's face as she tells me, don't do that. Don't do that. It is not worth it to you. And as a direct result, my husband and I have not been tested positive for this virus as of yet. And God's willing, we will not be tested positive, because as you say, prevention means more than anything else. Dr. Ayla, where are you going to be this week?
So this afternoon from 3 to 7 p.m., we are at Victory Christian Center, which is on Whitby Avenue in Southwest Philadelphia. And then on Thursday, the 7th, we're going to be at a Mastery Charter School, Hardy-Williams, also from 3 to 7 p.m. And then on Saturday, we're going to be at Mount Airy Church of God in Christ from 10 to 2.
Okay, and so on Saturday... so let me see, 3 to 7 p.m. today, Victory Christian Center on Whitby Avenue in Southwest Philadelphia. On the 7th, Thursday the 7th, you're going to be at Mastery Hardy-Williams High School from 3 to 7. And on Saturday, Mount Airy Church of God in Christ from 10 to 2, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
All right. Dr. Ayla, I'm going to let you go because I know you got to get ready. And I'll talk to you on Thursday. Please promise me that you can come back on Thursday and let us continue to talk about this and see how many people we can help, okay?
Yes, and Andrea, if I can, you know, Pastor Waller, yourself, Pastor Richardson, Pastor Mitchell, it's because we, the Black Doctors Consortium, had the support of the community that we've been able to do this, that we were able to, in 48 hours, reach out to Pastor Waller and say, listen, I need a place to test people. People can't get tested in the city of Philadelphia. You guys have a parking lot. We don't need to come inside. Can we test? And without hesitation said yes. without hesitation. That was our prototype. That first day, Monday, April 20th, I will never forget showing up in hundreds and hundreds of cars at Enon Tabernacle. And we served so many people that day. And it was from that day that we know how to deal with 400, 500, 700 people coming out. So if I have never thanked you, Pastor Waller, thank you.
Well, thank you. And it was from that day that I found out that I had it myself.
Wow.
And so I will never forget that day either. But now I have the antibodies, and they're still going strong in my body.
Yeah.
And so and I they don't know why. Some of us have them and some of us don't.
Right.
And all of that. So I think we all have to stay in this fight and be supportive. And whenever you need to come, we're going to always make it available to you. And whatever the next phases of this, we're in it to win it, because we know we're going to figure this out one day, and we know we're going to get back to normal, or whatever the new normal is. And we just got to stay in the fight and not give up, not get tired of it, not be through with it, not be over it. Just keep going until we win.
Amen.
Let me say this to the both of you, and I don't know how we can make this happen. I am also willing to lend my voice to talking to the community about COVID-19. If it's a public service, and now I don't care. I don't care. Since I've been on the air for a year and I've been working with the WURD listeners, if I can possibly use my voice to help somebody to go get tested for the virus, to help somebody to stay home, to help somebody not to travel, that will be a great thing. You all figure it out. I'm just a regular old show host over here, right? Here's my last question for you, Dr. Ayla. How can we help homebound patients? A nurse is asking that her homebound patients need help.
Yeah, in terms of getting coronavirus tested and so forth.
Yes.
Or the vaccine.
The vaccine.
Or the vaccine. Yeah. I would suggest that you email us or call my office. I am collecting that list because I'm getting a lot of folks say, you know, my grandma, she stays in the house. We take care of her as a family, but each one of us, as we come in and out of the house, are potentially exposing her. She's on the second floor. It's hard for us to even get her down the steps. How do we get her vaccinated? Right? So please send me that type of stuff. We're working on it. We can make a mobile unit work. And especially with the Moderna vaccine that doesn't require the storage of the minus 70 degrees. It can be in a refrigerator. We can do that. We were able to do it with the flu vaccine, so we can do it with coronavirus vaccine. Absolutely.
I can't stand it. You're just so awesome. Awesome. You are a black woman that absolutely rocks. And history is going to be kind to you, madame, kind to you, because when you started,
God has blessed me.
Yes,
and
you didn't have a whole bunch of
so
funding, nothing. You had nothing.
No,
I remember talking to you and getting frustrated. I came on the air and lit everybody from tip to sternum. Y'all better give this woman some. It was so funny,
but
Dr. Ayla.
But the first 4 months was from the community. It was the churches. It was donations from church, which I still don't know how they gave us money when nobody was tithing and going to church. But they reached deep. People were bringing us cases of water, bringing us $5 and $10, bringing us hot meals. I mean, that was all community. All community kept us going until we got the support. All right, I'm jumping off. I don't want to.
All right, thanks, Dr. Ayla. All right.
Okay.
Wait, one more thing. Do you have a phone number where people can call, or do they have to email?
Yes. 215 277 5450.
215-277-5450. Good.
That is correct.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Talk to you on Thursday, okay?
Stay safe, yes.
All right.
Bye, Pastor Waller.
Bye-bye. Take care.
All right. So, Pastor Waller, Father God, listen. I have you on purpose every single week, right? And
Yep.
every time you get off the air, I have a small group of people that are fussing that you're working with the people up in the northwestern section. And can you speak to that when we come back, please, about the fact that you're touching who you can touch? Are you just up in the northwestern section? Are you in all parts of the city? I want you to clarify some of that for folks, because I happen to believe that you are doing good work. And of course, we can't please everybody. But when I come back from break, I want you to talk about where your reach is in the community. Can you hold on for me for a second? All right,
Yep.
1 second. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. I am aware that I have people online waiting. Just hold on, callers. I'll get to you in a little bit. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we will be right back after these messages.
Listen to Laborers Live.
We created the weekend. We created the 40-hour work week. We just want enough to feed our family, be able to send our children to college, and let our next generation do better than we did.
To people that might have forgot how important unionism is in a country like the United States. People now infringing on our 8-hour workday, trying to work people more than 8 hours without overtime, trying to work people without benefits. In the long run, everybody's getting a fat paycheck except the worker. So this is really a wake-up call for America.
The struggle is continuous. Tune in to Laborers Live every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. Sponsored by LESIT, the Laborers Employers Cooperation Education Trust of the Laborers District Council of Philadelphia and vicinity.
Local 332, Sam Staten Jr. Business Manager. Local 57, Esteban Vera Business Manager. Local 135, Dan Woodall Jr. Business Manager. Local 413, James Harper Jr. Business Manager. The Laborers District Council, Ryan Boyer Business Manager, and Tony Staten, Executive Director of LESIT.
Livelihood, the new initiative from WURD Radio, connecting Philadelphians to jobs, entrepreneurship opportunities, small business resources, and financial literacy. Visit WURDworks.com right now and take the next step in your professional journey. Livelihood is supported by the Nightland Fest's Local News Transformation Fund, Borealis Philanthropies Racial Equity and Journalism Fund, and the Solutions Journalism Network. WURD TV. We're streaming live video of this conversation right now. Tune in on YouTube at onWURD or on Facebook at ForWord. WURD TV. Black Talk Media.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. If you are just joining me, I had on the line with us Dr. Ayla Stanford, who is a board-certified and experienced physician with an impeccable record of delivering patient care. At 1:20, I merged with her, Dr. Alan E. Waller, who is the senior pastor of the Enon Tabernacle Baptist Church in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Dr. Waller is still on the line with us, and he and I are having a conversation about his reach in the community. Dr. Waller, are you still there?
I am still here. Yes.
All right. So tell Mother, what is your, because you didn't make it to be the largest church in the city of Philadelphia without impacting thousands of lives, right? But like I know with all leadership, we can't reach everybody. And so
Right.
I want you to talk about what your reach has been, and let folks know what you're doing, Dr. Waller.
Well, primarily, again, Enon Tabernacle Baptist Church is one church in two locations that is primarily in the Northwest. It's in our original facility is at 230 West Coulter Street, which is in the Pulaski section. And then in 2006, we branched out. We bought the old Temple Stadium, and we're at 2800 Cheltenham. So that's about a 5-mile distance between the two buildings. We're not the only church in the city of Philadelphia. We are one of the several churches, and our area, my parish, if you will, is pretty much the northwest section. I don't think I'm the only pastor, nor am I the pastor of the city. I'm the pastor of Enon, and we primarily focus in that area. We have a commitment to tithe of the tithe, so that means 10% of everything that comes into us financially, we give back out to other churches, other organizations, other entities in the community. And we were able to repurpose a number of dollars last year to sow into small businesses and some of our larger organizations that we just believe need to stay focused and stay alive. And so WURD, Tribune, the African American History Museum, OIC, Urban League, sow into because we know times are difficult. The Bible teaches us that we are to be faithful in Jerusalem, which means home, Judea, Samaria, and the uttermost parts of the earth. So you begin with your center, your home, which for us is the northwest section, and then you expand out through partnership. And so as a part of the Baptist Ministers Conference, and also in conjunction with other pastors, I believe we have a network of reach that goes across the city. I have a great deal of respect for Pastor Spalding and Pastor Morris and Pastor Keith Reed and Pastor Marshall Mitchell and my pastor, Pastor Kwan. And when we all link together, we have a spiritual spider web of ministry that goes throughout the city. But everybody, I think the key is that no one entity should ever think they are the last word in the city, and everybody should take care of their neighborhood. Yes. And if everybody takes care of their neighborhood, our neighborhoods will lock up, and we're going to fix this city. So that's how I understand reach. I don't think there is no, sometimes we use things like largest or best. I don't think we're allowed to use superlatives when it comes to pastors and churches, because there really are no big churches, small churches. There's just the church. And every church has its own calling, and because there are some very effective ministries that are never going to be large because that's not what they're called to do or be. And for example, there's a very effective homeless ministry, Chosen 300, that is not going to grow but so much because it focuses on feeding people. And so we try to, sow into those ministries and try to be of aid to other people. Sometimes you don't need to do the thing. You need to support the thing that people are doing. And so there are some things that I don't do, but we send money to because people do it better than we could do it anyhow.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you. Clear it up, clarified, done. Not even worried about it. I just want to make sure that people understood, because sometimes when you're visible, people expect you to be everything to everybody, right? And so it gets a little bit difficult, but you answered that beautifully. I don't know if I could have, because I would have had an attitude like, what do you want me to take over all the Philadelphia? Because I'm still working on myself, Pastor Wall. I'm still working on myself.
I understand. Yeah,
it's a lot.
I think that, when criticism, I think one of the things that we as pastors have to accept, that if you're in the public eye, you're going to be in the public mouth. And so you have to accept that if you're going to get out here in public. That comes with the territory. But also, the critique of the church is also an affirmation of who people expect us to be. So I don't receive that as a bad thing. People can get mad at the church because we've got our faults that we got to deal with. But the fact that people have an expectation of the church, it reminds us who we're supposed to be and who people believe that we're supposed to be. And so when there is critique, I receive it as a call to be our best self and be my best self. Because I still believe that the church is God's best answer to what's going on in the community. And of all black institutions, the church is still here. And we still have a major role to play. And we are not without fault, and certainly we should always critique anything in the community. But I am confident that we've tried to do what we're supposed to do in this season, and I'm confident that the history of the church is one that has helped black people and more than it has hurt. And I hope that my tenure is also a part of that helping lineage. Because all we can do is give our 30 or 40 years, and then we pass it on to the next people. We received it from some great men and women. Hopefully on our charge, we've done the best we can, and now we're at the age where we're starting to raise up the next generation because we're going to have to pass it on. And all anybody can do is do your best to serve God by serving people and make the world better than when you found it, and then go on home.
All right now. and somebody passed the offering plate because I also know that you and other churches work in connection with the mosques, right? The masjids around you.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
So
That's
you're not even singularly closing yourself off to other folks. You're really working together in conjunction to help the people of this city. So we just voted in the new state house. You know, we've got some new people going in: Armin Brown, Darisha Miller. You know, we want to make sure that these folks have support and that we give them what they need in terms of making sure that they can manage to work and take care of the constituents that they were voted in to serve. So right in Philadelphia right now, there's a lot going on here as it applies to that. But as I am looking at the Georgia runoff election, sir, I'll ask you what your thoughts are on that, and the fact that the Congress tomorrow, there's going to be a whole group of militant folks in Washington, D.C. marching. Like you just feel, you and I have had this conversation openly, which is why I'm addressing it with you again. You just feel, and I said it with Chris Norris yesterday, we're literally in the middle of civil war that's starting to rise and bubble, right?
I believe that, yeah.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts about that, and what do you have to offer people as you talk about that piece?
Well, I think that we should not sleep this moment. We should recognize that we are on the precipice of change. The reality is we can't let our foot off of the gas pedal. We have to continue to push this country to become what it says it is on paper. There are people that do not want this mountaintop moment or this tipping point moment to happen. I think the next 48 hours are going to be crazy. And, you know, Donald Trump has lost his mind, and he's got a section of people that want to do what he says. So I expect that tonight in the news we're going to find out that there's trouble in D.C. I hope that the Democrats win in Georgia. That's going to be a hard push to win a down-ballot election in Georgia. Raphael Warnock is a friend of mine. We've worked very hard to see that he does win. If he does, I expect the other side to go crazy over the next couple of days, but I believe that God is good. I think we all need to keep our heads on a swivel because we live here in Pennsylvania, and once you step outside of Philadelphia, you are in Alabama. And you need to know that. In between Philly and Pittsburgh is Pennsylvania. And so we need to be prepared for that. But what we also need to recognize is that the many white Christians have drawn a line in the sand. The Southern Baptist Convention has rejected critical race theory.
Yes.
And so some of my friends who were Southern Baptists have pulled out. I think we have to hold our white brothers and sisters accountable to what has been said. And they're going to look for us on Martin Luther King Day to make everything all right and make them feel good if they are not personally racist. We cannot allow all that has happened next year to let anybody off the hook for the racist history and activity of this country. We got to push this ball over. It's going to be uncomfortable, but we're going to get to a new normal. So I think that we need to be prepared for things to get worse, and we need to continue to push. We cannot let our good white brothers and sisters off the hook for their personal goodness. They have to understand that we're not talking about personal bias, but systemic racism, and we have to push systems until they truly change. And even after they change, we have to keep pressing it until the change sticks. So this is the time for us to pay attention to the next DA's race, the next mayoral race, the next Senate race. And, you know, if you've been reading the papers, there's some stuff that's beginning to happen around this mayor's race where we all are going to have to put on our thinking caps and organize and get ready for it. So there's a lot we have to do. In light of this pandemic, it lets us know that there's no time for any of us to go home to rest on our laurels. We got a lot of work to do, and it's an exciting time for those of us who are leaders, for those of us who care about community. This is not the time to go back to our own little sections, but to look for that spiritual spider web of mutuality so that we can fix this stuff.
Pastor Waller, thank you so much. I told you way back in the beginning of summer that we would just do this until Election Day, and now Election Day has passed. But sir, lots going on, so we need to keep meeting every Tuesday, if at all possible, with you.
That's cool. All right.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So I will catch up with you next week. Okay?
Sounds good. Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Can someone tell Eric, tell the young person on the call that I'm going to take them right after the break, okay? And thank you for waiting, whoever you are. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we will be right back after these messages.
Hi, this is John.
Hi, this is Juanita, owners of JD's Auto Body and Painting. We're located at 6300 Wayne Avenue, right there at the intersection of Wayne and Washington Lane.
We really like to thank all you WURD listeners for the support that you've given our business, and we really hope to see you in the future.
JD, tell them about our products and services we have.
We have a new state-of-the-art paint shop along with our body shop and detail shop. We can help you with the dents and scratches from the winter season.
Come to JD's Auto Body and Painting. Come on out and check us out. We're still honoring that WURD 10% discount. Give us a call, 215-848-5949. Again, 215-848-5949.
Thanks again for supporting our business. We really appreciate you.
See you at JD's Auto Body and Painting.
Morning, Mama. How you feeling?
Great, and I'm ready for you today.
I'm checking in on you. Morning meditation?
Check.
Dressed and ready to work out?
Check.
Check your blood pressure yet?
And check.
Boom! Great job, Mom. And about those gold earrings?
No, ma'am.
Now more than ever, it's important that we protect our hearts and the hearts of those we love. Monitor your blood pressure daily and help each other stay motivated. Rally your squad to take the online pledge at releasethepressure.org. Brought to you by the Release the Pressure Coalition and the Ad Council.
Lifting every voice till earth and heaven ring. This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Black Talk Media. WURD TV. We're streaming live video of this conversation right now. Tune in on YouTube at onWURD or on Facebook at ForWord. WURD TV. Black Talk Media.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. Now is where I'm going to take the calls from the people that have been on the line, Woody and Jeannie. Let me just say this to you, though, in a recap. If you are just joining us, I began the show with Dr. Ayla Stanford, who is an experienced physician with an impeccable record of delivering patient care. That conversation was fascinating, and it's one that I'm pulling for future use, because she said that, she said all kinds of things. She said, please don't travel. If you've got to travel, don't take a plane, she says. Travel by car. And when you travel by car, do not get in and out at rest stops, because you will track the virus into your car. She says stay at a relative's home instead of at a hotel where thousands of visitors come and go. They can't possibly clean it well enough. She said remove yourself from small gatherings like weddings and funerals and baby showers and church services. She said the spread is happening in those kinds of places, right? She said many were unsure about the vaccine, black, white, brown, and yellow. But she said, but guess what? There is a shortage, and they're now having discussions about rationing the vaccine or about cutting doses in half, and which is interesting, because as someone in media, I asked her a question around what do we do as media people, because if there is a protest or something, we need to go out and cover some of these things. We can't always sit behind our computers. And she said if we have to choose between media who can work from home and, let's say, a SEPTA bus driver, for instance, and I was like, yep, go ahead, give it to the SEPTA bus driver. Get it. I'm clear. I'm not, we should not be anyway crazy and foolish about this, and learn how to make sure that the people who truly could get the vaccine first has it, right? She talks about the fact that she got her first dose 3 weeks ago. She gets her second dose tomorrow. She said, and her immediate reaction to it was a stomach being queasy and a headache, which subsided in a few hours. And then she said the next day she was completely exhausted and could not move, but that's about it. She gets her second dose tomorrow. So lots of folks, it's just up. They're trying to figure out where they go. She's on a panel here in Philadelphia that gets to discuss who should get the next phase. So she said phase 1B is coming up, which is 75 and up. Chronic people with chronic health conditions, those people will be in 1B. 1C or 2 will be media and folks like us. She says that, restaurants, if you can, order your food out. Stay out of the restaurants. Indoor dining is really not a great thing to do at this point. And so we're working through this, but let's go, right? All right, Jeannie, are you there? Good afternoon.
How are you? And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. How can I help you? You're very low. I can hardly hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. On the All News radio station, I heard that Bucks County are already giving general vaccinations to people who are non-medical essential workers. How did they get the opportunity to do that? What determined that one county gets it and the other doesn't?
I don't know, so I'm going to have to find out for you.
All right. I'll also call my politician and see, how that occurred. And one more thing. If you read the AARP newsletter that comes out, they were explaining why so many people in the nursing homes got the coronavirus, and it had to do with money. So if you could read that, it's very interesting.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Thank you so much for calling. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, Woody. Happy New Year. All that jazz. How are you, sir?
Well, happy birthday. How about that?
See, but you missed my birthday yesterday because you don't call it on Mondays.
I didn't even know it until I heard you mention it earlier. I really feel bad about that. But I'm happy about the fact that you're living and you're in this new year.
Yes, I am.
Because there's a whole bunch of people that aren't here.
Yeah, you have not lied.
So please forgive me. But I just wanted to speak, I guess, my lips through your lips to the others to make sure that you ask the question, please, because Dr. Ayla, I'm very proud of her and what she's accomplished, but I do recall the earlier time when she was thinking about not taking that right away, and I recall that, and it makes me think again when she was just giving you numbers about us being number one in this and that. How are we minorities but number one in everything that's bad? That's a question that I have to ask, and I also
can I answer that? Can I answer that for you?
Go ahead.
Will you let me answer that for you? We're number one in everything that bad because we get the least. We get treated with the least amount of care. If we were getting proper medical treatment, if we were listened to by medical professionals, some of these comorbidities that we have would not be out of control. If we had great supermarkets in our neighborhood, we'd be able to eat better instead of going to Wendy's or somewhere else and grabbing fast food all the time. If we had a proper educational system, we would feel like we had the wherewithal to go to school and get out of some of the craziness that we've been caught up in. So it's a vicious cycle. So when viruses go around, and I'm telling you about the things that are happening to us where we don't get the proper medical care, we don't have the insurance to go and get medical care if we don't have the insurance, and when we do have the insurance, oftentimes we're not treated well. So we walk around with the comorbidities instead of going to the doctor, and then we show up in the emergency room. That's the first thing. The second thing is the food deserts, right? So much that is not available to us, and the food is so diggity dang expensive. And when you're making $7 an hour or less, you have to choose what you're going to put in your mouth, right? And oftentimes it's not going to be something that is good for us. Just isn't. So, you know what I mean? So that's why these things are happening to us right now.
Yeah, I agree with all those things, but this is nothing new for the children of the former chattel slaves. This has been going on for centuries. And the bad part is that most people who are immigrants come into it and then they understand it after the fact. But we're in it every single day. And that's why I say to you, when you look at laboratories before a lot of these vaccines and other drugs that are made, we make up 12% of the population overall in this country, and the people of lighter hue make up 85%. Most of the testing that go on are done with white mice, and it works on people of lighter hue, and then we try it out. And then after we try it out, they try to function and see whether it's going to work on us. I mean, this has been going on for since the beginning of this country. So the children of the slaves are always pushed behind. So all I'm saying to you is check that out and see whether or not these vaccines are made for the majority or the minority of people? And I can guarantee you it's made for the people of lighter hue. Secondly, and hopefully you check this out and see for yourself, there was a pharmacist who had a pharmacy, and he destroyed hundreds of vials of this new vaccine because he said that, in fact, that it was going to affect the metabolism. Your DNA could possibly become affected by it and become mutated. Now, these are things that should be talked about, and that's why I say I need you to talk and ask these questions. Check it out for yourself, and these are facts, and I think these questions should be asked.
So she'll be back on Thursday. I do know about the pharmacist that just destroyed quite a few of the vaccines. So I will. Well, on Thursday when she comes back on, I'll ask her some of those questions. As it applies to the trials, I talked extensively about a conversation that Dr. Fossey had with black doctors some weeks ago. And one of the things he said was when they're doing the trial testing, mostly white folks go out to do the trial testing, and he understands why. Right, the Tuskegee experiment, Miss Lack, all of that. And so he says that we have to, and he's talking to the medical field now, they have to get better at making sure that black and brown people are treated well enough for them to want to come out and be a part of clinical trials. If we're not a part of clinical trials, then yes, the people who are often the ones that are tested and being a part of it, the vaccine or whatever solution they come up with will work better for those folks, which would mostly be white folks, right?
But also, yes? That has to do with second-class citizenship. You're considered a minority out of the box.
Okay.
So you have to consider that and keep that in mind, that this is not just something that happens. This is a planned position of prejudice, bigotry, hatred, and prejudice through the years. When you talk about Donald Trump, look at how many people voted for him. This half of the country is still into this hypnotic state of believing there's more than one race. You see, racism can't exist if there's only one race. There's only one race, many cultures and ethnicities. There's only one color called melanin, many shades. God knows that, and you do too, deep down inside, and so do they.
Oh, I do. I'm not arguing with you, not even a little bit.
They exist to keep things as white as possible. And that's just as simple as that. That's a sickness. It's called white supremacy. Mm-hmm. And I'll leave it at that. I don't mean to start the year off, but I think we got to keep our eyes open and watch as well as pray.
Yeah, Woody, not disagreeing with you on any level. So yes, thank you so much, yes, and thank you for being here in the new year.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you, sir. All right, talk to you soon. Bye-bye. All right, Prince, how are you, sir?
Good afternoon. How are you?
Lord, I'm catching it already. What's going on?
If she's having side effects at her age based on taking half of a portion of the vaccine, then Thursday, can you ask her, how is it, or can we at least examine a few seniors and find out if they're having the same effects or are the effects worse on seniors? You know, because it's somehow in order, when you have the coronavirus, you have to have something else along with it. So if these seniors are taking this vaccine, and once again, if they have an adverse effect to it, you think we might need to know that in advance, opposed to at the last minute, you know?
Okay.
And I think that's fair. You know what I mean?
Okay. All right, I'm going to ask her that question.
Yeah. And I think when you look at cultural heritage, when you go back to Jamaica, everything is Jamaica and. So there might be some white doctors there, but it's mostly Jamaica and. And so what happened is that you keep asking the people who are void of their culture, history, and anything else to relate to, you keep asking them why this keep happening to us. And so once again, you know, I hear the Woodies and I hear other folks, but I'm still waiting for a section that we have collectively put our money together, and that's the black section of the city. Not black-owned because Europeans let us all congregate there, but it's black-owned because we put the resources in that community, and we own every house, we own every barbershop, we own every pool hall, we own every store. And so you can't on one hand, a lot of African Americans have made a bunch of money, millionaires in this particular city right here, but it does not reflect anywhere in this city right here. And I think that's an awful problem, you know, and so we have to work economics in a way where you can go somewhere and say, you can identify, you got the Chinatowns, you got the Italian meat market, but you don't have anywhere we can go and claim. At least I don't know anywhere. And I guess the last thing that I like to speak upon is I think we are more looking for God's expectations than some church or some pastor's expectations. He's almost making the assertion that he's willing to take the hits of criticism when it's not his bell of wax to take the hit of criticism. If he's doing God's will, then it's God's relationship and not a person's relationship. And so I really get tired of half the politicking, you know, and all of them. When they get into the politic game and you get the wrong person in office and they cut the funding for your facility or some of the things that you had promissory notes for past people inside of your church, then you get what you deserve, because it makes no sense for you to be inside of, and Philadelphia is notorious for having pastors at the table representing the people, and yet over the last 10 years, next time the pastor, next Tuesday when he come on, say, Pastor, in 10 years, give me something substantial that have helped African-American people other than y'all talking about the Republicans and Donald Trump. Give me some. Go down there, ask the pastor to go down there and stand on board and rate those people who have to report for probation and parole, how they're treated, even before COVID, how they have to stand in a line that goes all the way around the corner. So you know what that line is. So that's the most embarrassing thing ever. Or something to go down 8th and Silbert with people that are standing in line for the parking authority, you know, that don't really have the money to pay for the ticket. And so give us some help. If you keep telling us and advising us and want to mobilize us to do things, then look at the hurt in this city and give us some help in that direction. You know, and I think that's important because.
All right. So what's the solution that you have, Prince? What's the solution that you have in terms of, like they said, the parking tickets or the probation and parole? How can the churches and the leadership in this city help those folks? Because according to Pastor Waller, they gave money to WURD, they gave money to the Tribune, they gave money to OIC, they gave money to Urban Affairs of Philadelphia, and they've done some other things, outside of the church. So what would you concretely ask them to do, not just him, but the church and the mosques, as it applies to the people that are on probation and the folks that are at the parking authority where their cars are being booted?
We need to have a venue, not the NAACP. Not using them as a venue. I don't think they've been productive. We need to have an OIC development, something that represents the OIC that we had in the city back in the day, where folks who, family members or folks that are experiencing hardship can actually go there and get help by us. And you got business people in the city that donate just because they know. I'm not giving you anything for Christmas, but I'll give you a couple $100 to get your car out if it was booted. You know, and I think that's what we should do. We should have something like an OIC or reinvent OIC so other affluent people in the city could say, here, you can go there, you know, and you can hand out little flyers down there at the parking authority and say, hey, if your car was booted and towed, if it's under $400, here's a program that will give you $200 on the spot if you can show the paperwork. And I'm going to hang up and listen to you.
Well, thank you, Prince. I appreciate it, man. So wait, Joseph said, hold on, Prince, are you still there? Prince, you're gone. Prince is gone. Joseph Simmons said, Prince was supposed to be making his announcement. Ha! All right, Prince, you need to call back and tell folks what the announcement is. Because Joseph is saying you should have been, right? Zen Motley is saying we need to own more farmland. The production of protein and veggies can give us jobs and wealth. Yep. So much going on. Which is why I try to highlight young people and what they're doing and how they're creating jobs and making it do. You know, we keep looking down and shirking the use of our hands and what we can do with our hands. If you're a great plumber or a great carpenter, or, you know, everybody's talking about a PhD. Not everybody is going to get a PhD program. But what can you do if you start doing something else and making that money build on top of it so you can grow into something bigger than that, right? Because money is money is money. Because everybody, the folks that have had generational wealth, it's been going on for years and years. And Black people are way behind the 8 ball, right? And so it's going to take us a little while to build a generational wealth. And the ones of us that have a little bit of coins, you know, we're using it to try and make more money and not really trying to help folks, which is why these platforms are so important to us as we're talking to folks. How can we help people move forward? And speaking of helping people, let me just go ahead and do this for you. God bless Brianna. Thank you, Brianna. She's just been so wonderful. Here's a way that you can do this. The Octavius Cater Scholarship. Mayor Jim Kenney proposed an important new anti-poverty initiative designed to put more Philadelphians on the path to success at Community College of Philadelphia. The program, named after Octavius Cater Scholarship, named the Octavius Cater Scholarship, aims to make the transformative power of education available to students by providing funding and additional support. Combining last dollar funding with a special wraparound support services, the program will address obstacles like tuition and fees, as well as burdens that hit many Philadelphians, especially those living in poverty, particularly hard, including costs associated with food, transportation, and books. Eligible first-time, full-time students will receive last dollar funding for up to 3 years, enhanced coaching and advising, and support for food, transportation, and books. They're taking everything off the table, right? They're giving you everything. Cater scholarships will receive both tuition support as well as many academic resources and services, such as support towards the cost of books, food, and transportation, career coaches and advisors to help them stay on track, connection to existing resources like affordable housing, child care, and other services. Who is eligible for this? Pay attention, y'all. The Cater Scholarship draws from national best practices. The students who benefit from such programs are incoming full-time students without any college experience. Starting in the spring of 2021 semester, students who meet the eligibility criteria who will be eligible for all supports of the Cato Scholarship, last dollar tuition, basic needs support, enhanced academic and career coaching, and enhanced connection to services. Once you've applied to the college and completed your FAFSA, if you have further questions, contact them at the Cato Scholarship at ccp.edu. Keep saying this. I'm going to come back and talk to Princess Points in a minute. To become a Cato Scholar, new first-time Community College of Philadelphia students must have a high school diploma, Commonwealth diploma, or GED from any high school located in Philadelphia, public charter or private school, Pennsylvania cyber charter, or homeschool. You must attend the Community College of Philadelphia full-time, 12 plus credits per term, be a Philadelphia resident for at least 12 months, complete the FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid each year, and document an expected family contribution of $8,000 or less. Enter college ready for one level below college ready in English and or math. And accommodations, they also wrote here that accommodations will be made for undocumented students. Yes. How to apply. If you are ready to take advantage of this scholarship opportunity, your first step is to apply to the Community College of Philadelphia. All admission applications will be reviewed for eligibility for the Octavius Cater Scholarship. If it appears you meet the eligibility requirements, the college will send you an email outlining next steps after we have had the opportunity to review your completed admission application. Please note that filing a FAFSA is an eligibility requirement, so if you have not already done so, please submit it. The FAFSA is really something that a lot of people have a hard time figuring out. So I need someone to get on the air with me to talk about filling out the FAFSA. So if you're listening to me and you're someone who have helped students to fill out the FAFSA form, the family and student eligibility criteria, it is daunting for folks who know what they're doing. So imagine folks who don't know what they're doing, right? So it'll be interesting. All right, 1 second, Eric. It says, why is it important? The Octavius Cater Scholarship will make the transformative power of education accessible to graduates of high schools in Philadelphia, as well as those residents who have earned a comparable credential. Many Philadelphians, especially those living in poverty, particularly hard, including costs associated with food, books, and transportation. In addition, the city will work with CCP to better connect students to benefits access, quality child care, and housing supports. So they're just not giving you, the scholarship. They're going to help you with other services, right? So eligible new first-time students who are enrolled full-time are eligible to receive funding to cover the remainder of your tuition and fees after federal and state funding and other aid are applied. And that funding is available for up to 3 years. $1,500 to meet the needs for food, transportation, and books, support from a team of academic advisors, coaches, navigators, and other staff, connection to city services such as benefits access, quality childcare. And so if you really want to do this, it says students, if you're a current and part-time student of CCP, you must be a first-time college, full-time student beginning in spring 2021. So you can't be a current or part-time CCP student for this. And students, what must you do to maintain eligibility? You must maintain a full-time enrollment, at least 12 credits per semester, and maintain a 2.0 GPA at the end of each year. And so that's where we go, right? ccp.edu, and go figure it out and go help yourselves. And this is not for everybody, but for the people who are willing to have been dying to go to college and couldn't see their way out and did not know how they were going to do it because they didn't see the first dollar. Please go apply for this scholarship and get help in figuring out your FAFSA. I'm going to have somebody on the air to show you how to do that piece, right? I did it 8 years straight with both my sons, and ooh, Father God. All right, so let me take a quick break, and then I'll take the next caller that's on the line. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
An undercover FBI lawyer infiltrates a group of Bay Area climate activists in A Spy in the Struggle by award-winning author Aya De Leon. Sexy and gripping, A Spy in the Struggle is an espionage novel that puts a uniquely black, feminist lens to the issues of climate change, social justice, and corporate corruption. The Washington Post calls it a passionately felt thriller that will have you on the edge of your seat. Pick up your copy of A Spy in the Struggle and visit ayadeleon.com. That's AYADELEON.com.
This is not a fad for us. We will not resume our regular programming when things die down. We're not black to help our bottom line or because it's politically correct. We're not joining a fight. This has been our fight, our message, our people. Black lives have always mattered here. We are undeniably, indefatigably, unapologetically, permanently Black Talk Media. WURD. WURD TV. We're streaming live video of this conversation right now. Tune in on YouTube at onWURD or on Facebook at ForWord. WURD TV. Black Talk Media.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. We have on the line Friendly Fred from North Philly. Hi, Fred. How are you?
Hi, Sanders. How you doing? Happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Can you take a listen for a second? Take a few seconds. I just want to say, boy, you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, that you may declare the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light, the glorious freedom of the children of God, which are the family of God, God's design for the family, and God's plan for the family. And that's all I have to say.
Oh, well, thank you so much for calling. I appreciate you. Have a good one, okay? All right. So Joseph says, Mova, reach out to the school district. Do you know how difficult it is to get anybody from the school district to talk to you? It is the most insane thing I have ever seen in my life. So maybe if someone from the school district of Philadelphia is listening and they can help send someone over to talk to me about the FAFSA form, I am very happy to have that conversation with you. In the meantime, I'm moving on to talk about this. Let me say this. Because I don't want us to take our eyes off of the fact that we have a current president of the United States that's still fighting like hell, quote unquote, to hold on to the presidency. This was written by the Associated Press, Lisa Mascaro, Mary Clark Jelinek, and Kevin Freaking today. In Dalton, Georgia, with mounting desperation, Donald Trump declared he would fight like hell to hold on to the presidency and appealed to Republican lawmakers to reverse his election loss to Joe Biden when they convened this week to confirm the Electoral College vote. Pay attention, folks. That will be tomorrow, January 6th, right? Electoral votes won by President-elect Biden are not going to take this White House, he shouted as supporters cheered at an outdoor rally Monday night. That was last night in Georgia. Trump's announced purpose for the trip was to boost Republican Senate candidates in Tuesday's runoff elections, but he spent much of his speech complaining bitterly about his election loss, which he insists he won by a lot. Earlier in Washington, he pressed Republican lawmakers to formally object Wednesday at a joint session of Congress that is to confirm Biden's victory in the Electoral College, itself a confirmation of Biden's nationwide victory on November 3rd. Pay attention. Though he got nothing but cheers Monday night, Trump's attempt to overturn the presidential election is splitting the Republican Party. Some GOP lawmakers backing him are rushing ahead despite an outpouring of condemnation from current and former party officials warning the effort is undermining Americans' faith in the democracy. All 10 living former defense secretaries wrote an op-ed that the time of questioning the results has passed. It is unclear the extent to which GOP leaders in Congress will be able to control Wednesday's joint session, which could drag into the night. Pay attention. Though the challenges to the election are all but certain to fail, Trump himself is whipping up crowds for a Wednesday rally near the White House. Vice President Pence, who is under pressure to tip the results for Trump, will be closely watched as he presides in a ceremonial role over Wednesday's joint session. I promise you this, on Wednesday we will have our day in Congress, Pence said, while himself campaigning in Georgia ahead of Tuesday's runoff elections that will determine control of the Senate. Trump said in Georgia, I hope that our great vice president comes through for us. He's a great guy, yada, 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 yada. And then he says, of course, if he doesn't come through, I won't like him quite as much. So much. One of Georgia's Republican in Tuesday's runoff, Senator Kelly Loeffler, who faces Democrat Raphael Warnock, told the crowd she will join senators formally objecting to Biden's win. The other Republican seeking re-election, David Perdue, who was running against Democrat John Ossoff, will not be eligible to vote. So all these things are going on, right? So I did all of that because I really want you all to pay attention to what's coming, what I'm going to talk about next. There has been, and you see it, the news, the national news has been reporting that this group, the Proud Boys, is a far-right neo-fascist and male-only political organization. The leader of that organization is Enrique Tarrio, and he is the chairman. And in 2020, he was a candidate in the Republican primary election for Florida's 27th congressional district, but withdrew. Tarrio is the Florida state director of the grassroots organizations Latinos for Trump. In January 2021, he was arrested and charged with misdemeanor destruction of property and possession of high-capacity firearm magazines. Pay attention. Tarrio was raised in Little Havana, a neighborhood in Miami, Florida. Y'all think I'm telling you this stuff because we sit around and we say, well, you know, white people this, white people that, white people. No. Pay attention. He identifies as Afro-Cuban. If you see a picture of him, he actually looks like a black man. In 2004, when he was 20 years old, Tarrio was convicted of theft. He was sentenced to community service and 3 years of probation and was ordered to pay restitution. In 2013, he was sentenced to 30 months in federal prison for rebranding and reselling stolen medical devices. After 2004, he relocated to a small town in North Florida to run a poultry farm. He later returned to Miami, and he has also founded a security equipment installation firm and other providing GPS tracking for companies. He owns a T-shirt business in Miami known as the 1776 Shop, right? Slate described it as a freewheeling online emporium for far-right merchandise that sells a range of Proud Boy gear, including shirts stating, Pinocchio did nothing wrong. So, You all are looking at the Proud Boys, and you're seeing a group of white men. It is led by an Afro-Latina. And they have all congregated, a good group of them. They're not all in Washington, D.C. right now. They're getting ready to start some trouble. As Pastor Wallace said earlier, keep your head on swivel. If you move out of Philadelphia proper and you start traveling outside of Philadelphia into the counties, or you travel outside of Philadelphia into other states, be very aware of what's going on around you. We have said this quietly as we possibly can, but quite frankly, this is about to get really interested in this country, and we can no longer sit around and say, well, I really want to go have I want to go travel to wherever I need to travel to because I just don't feel like sitting at home because of coronavirus. There's more insipid things going on here stateside. More people are going to get sick, and I want you all to pay attention and figure out what needs to happen. So here we go. Ah, Lord help me. It's sometimes you think about these things and you wonder, where are we going with it, right? We talked about the coronavirus and that Los Angeles now, because they're so inundated with coronavirus cases, are telling folks that if someone calls the ambulance and you get to their homes and it doesn't look like they're going to survive, do not take them to the hospital. Let them die. That is how serious it has gotten. In the United Kingdom, Boris Johnson has locked down the entire country from now until the middle of February because the coronavirus cases have spiked, but we still want to travel, right? Dr. Ayla Stanford has been on here saying, please, 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 be careful. Don't travel if you do not need to. If it's not a necessary thing, do not travel. Do not get on a plane. We're so hard-headed sometimes. It makes me wonder. I've asked this question 1,000 times. The traveling is going to be there if we do what we're supposed to do. If you need to travel, if it's a directive that you must travel, she says, take a car. Do not go into rest stops because you're tracking the virus in and out into the place in your cars. And if you have to go, like I did, and I can't tell you what to do, I carried an extra pair of shoes with me, like a pair of easy software shoe. When I went inside, when I came back out, instead of stepping into my car with that shoe on, I put the shoe in a plastic bag, tie it up, and I made sure I didn't stop at a rest stop until I absolutely needed to, because I was only doing it once. My husband packs food for me if I have to travel. I've only had to do it twice this year. And he packed food with sandwiches and fruit and water to make sure that we're okay. So the only thing I would have to do is to stop and get gas, right? And then I would put on a pair of gloves. I'm just telling you what I do, which is why we have not contracted the virus, knock on wood, up in here, from March of last year up until now, because we have been supremely careful. So Dr. Ayla is telling us all of that. She also said that there is a shortage on the vaccine, right? So even though we're expecting X amount of people to be inoculated with it, forget the fact that there's a bunch of people who don't even want to take it. Black, white, brown, yellow, whatever you identify as. And there is a pharmacist that actually destroyed quite a bit of those vaccine vials. So, there's so much confusion and so much, we don't know what to believe or what to think. She keeps saying, follow the science. So let's see what happens. Dr. Ayla took her first dose of the vaccine 3 weeks ago. She had the Pfizer vaccine. She said the first day she had nausea and headache. And she was fine after a few hours. The second day, she was completely exhausted. But after that, she was fine. She gets her second dose tomorrow. And so we're continuing to have these kinds of conversations because we want more of us to survive. I'm heartbroken by the fact that I have friends who are saying their child had COVID and 18 years old and was okay and then dropped after that, right? So we're going to talk about the long haulers in a little bit, but let me take Bree. Bree, are you there?
Good afternoon.
Bree, how are you?
Good. I just want to make a comment. I was reading an article about the Proud Boys and that the leader was arrested for burning a Black Lives Matter sign with some of his buddies, I guess. But and I did see that the name was Hispanic sounding. I just wanted to make a comment that all of us, like you said, we have to be very, very careful about who to trust. I think here in America, because some Hispanics identify themselves as white. I know you just said he was Afro-Cuban, but a lot of Hispanics identify themselves as a white Hispanic or a Black Hispanic.
Yep.
And a lot of them can pass for white, and I think that a lot of them, in some cases, will be racist against us or do racist things against Black people. That's not. I can't speak for all of them because I know some are very, very nice. I have a personal Puerto Rican friends that I know that are very nice, but even they have said that there is racism within the Hispanic community towards darker skinned Hispanics and Black people. I just wanted to make that point.
Oh, you were absolutely right, Bree. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, we have to be careful. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you so much, Bree. I appreciate your calling in and talking about that because leading up to the elections, I had some Latinos on the air, and they were very clear about that. You know, there's friction amongst them. You know, some of them identify as white because they're really light skinned. Some of them just don't identify. And quite frankly, in some parts of the country, what we are seeing is the ones that are identifying as white, quite a few of them are Republicans, and quite a few of them believe. And so, you know, that's where we get our 70 billion from. It's not just all one group. So we have to be very, very careful about how we talk, you know, as it applies to this kind of vitriol that's going on around the country. Thank you so much, Bree. I appreciate you.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye. All right. So let me do this, and then I'm going to take the next two callers. Ooh, Lord. All right, hold on. I'm going to write this, and then you heard me talking about the virus and the fact that they were telling people in Los Angeles County, and you don't say to me, well, this is Philadelphia and it's not happening here. It could happen here if we don't get it together. They reopened in restaurant dining in Philadelphia, and they reopened gyms, and you have got to be superbly careful. And I don't mean, you know, a little bit of wiping here, a little bit of wiping there. So I personally, and this is Andrea talking, I would rather order from an indoor dining restaurant and take my food home and have it delivered to me versus going and sitting in an indoor dining restaurant. That's just me. Do you make sure you're okay? But listen, many long COVID sufferers unable to work fully 6 months after. Respondents to global survey report 205 symptoms across 10 organ systems after the infection, right? Many people suffering from long COVID, they call them the long haulers, are still unable to work. Let me just make sure this is The Guardian wrote this, and this was written by Natalie Grover and Ian Sample today at 1 o'clock. Many people suffering from long COVID are still unable to work after full capacity 6 months after infection, a large-scale survey of confirmed and suspected patients has found. While COVID-19 was initially understood to be a largely respiratory illness from which most people would recover within 2 to 3 weeks, as the pandemic wore on, increasing numbers reported experiencing symptoms for months on end. These long haulers, with symptoms affecting organs ranging from the heart to the brain, have had no real explanation and no standardized treatment plan for their long-term condition. There is no consensus on the scale and impact of long COVID, but emerging data is concerning. In one of the largest studies yet, which has not been peer-reviewed, patient-led research for COVID-19, a group of long COVID patients who are also researchers surveyed 3,762 people aged 18 to 80 plus from 56 countries who responded in 9 different languages to 257 different questions. 205 symptoms across 10 organ systems were recorded, with 66 symptoms traced over 7 months. On average, respondents experienced symptoms for 9 organ systems. Okay. This is a chapter that has not yet been written in the medical textbooks and barely any major research papers yet published. Part of the progress here is that simply inputting large numbers and stats to the existing anecdotal sense of what's been happening, while aspects feel really quite novel. Nobody can address the condition until we are better able to narrate what's happening. And so, Lord have mercy, it's too much. The most likely symptoms to persist after 6 months included fatigue, post-exertional malaise, cognitive dysfunction, their brain fog. Lots of people are talking about a brain fog, neurological sensations, headaches, memory problems, insomnia, muscle aches, heart palpitations, shortness of breath, dizziness, balance issues, and speech and language problems. Nearly 86% of the respondents experience relapses, most commonly triggered by physical activity, stress, exercise, and mental activity. Other less common symptoms, which is something I think just started happening. I saw that in one of my friend's daughters last week, such as new allergies, facial paralysis, new allergies, seizures, impaired vision or hearing were important targets for further investigation. So please understand, you want to make sure there are lots of people, more people survive this virus than die from it. But I'm telling you, the long-term effects of this virus, and they're still not talking too much about it. We've got to get it together and figure out what we're doing here. So yeah, that's it. And I'm going to keep talking about this, and I'm going to talk to Dr. Ayla more about the long-term, the long haulers, they call them, people who had COVID-19, the virus 6, 7, 8, 9 months ago, recovered, quote unquote, and then all of a sudden, heart problems, needing to have their lungs replaced, kidney problems. It's like the thing is rushing through your body. So just getting the virus and recovering is not enough, and I want people to get themselves together. George, how are you, sir?
I'm fine, Mother. How you feel today?
I'm good. I want you to do me a favor. Hang on. Let me take a quick break so that I don't have to interrupt you and we can talk right through. Can you do that for me?
Yes, I can.
All right, hold on. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
Jobs, entrepreneurship opportunities, small business resources, and financial literacy. Livelihood. The new initiative from WURD Radio to connect Philadelphians to resources to help take the next steps in their professional lives. WordWorks.com features career readiness tools, entrepreneurship resources, funding opportunities, and events to expand your livelihood. Visit WURDworks.com right now and take the next step in your professional journey. Livelihood is supported by the Nightland Fest's Local News Transformation Fund, Borealis Philanthropies Racial Equity and Journalism Fund, and the Solutions Journalism Network.
What is dedication?
The thing that drives me every day as a dad is Dariana. We call him Day Day for short. Every day he's hungry for something, whether it's attention, affection, knowledge. And there's this huge responsibility in making sure that when he's no longer under my wing, that he's a good person. I want him to be able to sit back one day and go, we worked together, we did a good job.
That's dedication. Find out more at fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
WURD TV. We're streaming live video of this conversation right now. Tune in on YouTube at onWURD or on Facebook at ForWord. WURD TV. Black Talk Media.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. If you're watching me live on Facebook or YouTube, Mother is sucking down her smoothie filled with all kinds of green goodness and the protein to stay well. You know, I had a piece of birthday cake yesterday. Again, I'm being fully transparent with all of you. Had a piece of birthday cake yesterday. Had just too many carbs, and I could feel my blood sugar levels going up, and it was wonky. So I was like, let me just go ahead and reset my system and do what I need to do to keep me okay. George, are you there, darling?
Yes, I am. And how are you?
A child, Mother's trying to keep it together. What's going on today?
You're doing a very good job of keeping it together.
Thank you, sir.
Did you get a chance to look at the yesterday on where the police commissioner had a conference?
No, George. What happened?
It's amazing, isn't it, that she can't come on black radio, but she keeps accommodating the other people. You know, she goes down the dial, then she goes on the news, but she yet to come to the black community and say anything. When she do show up, she don't say nothing. She just walk around.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to reach out to somebody in the police department that's up pretty high, and see if we can get the police commissioner on my show.
She got to get permission.
Oh, let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Because are you saying that she has to get permission from someone in the mayor's office to talk to us? Is that what you're saying, George?
Or the managing director's office. She can't make no decision.
So then if that is the case, and I'm not saying that you're saying what you're saying is correct, but if that is the case, George, you don't think that it's crazy that they would only allow her to go talk to other organizations and not black-led media? You don't think that's crazy?
She only allowed to talk to white people.
Man,
She
George.
only allowed to talk to white people.
All right, George.
That's
So I'm
it.
going to try. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try. And now, if you turn on the dial and you hear me talking to Commissioner Outlaw, you listen. I need a high five. I need you to call me and say, Marva, you did it. Okay?
Yeah,
if
she
I
listening.
don't, okay.
She listening.
Okay.
You know, so
Because
she
I've had a conversation with her before. She had just gotten here.
And that was your first and your last.
Yeah,
You know,
but quite
ain't
frankly,
like
I haven't.
y'all
Quite frankly, though, George, I have not reached out to her since then. So this is what I'm getting ready to do. I'm getting ready to reach out through proper channels to see if I can get her back on the air with me so she and I can talk. Okay?
really is a waste of time. But you can
George,
do as
George,
please.
Let Marva try, and then we can talk about the waste of time. Okay?
Let me say this other thing too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Hollywood, which is we call Vincent Hughes, Senator Hughes is what we call Hollywood. Okay. You know, so Hollywood was trying to introduce a bill up in Harrisburg that they're going to give the people who own property, the property owners, they're going to give them $700. People been living in your place not paying rent for almost a year or longer, and they're going to give you $700 and you still forgive all that is owed, and, you know, they'll pick up from there. Who in their right mind would do that? I mean, it don't even make sense. But that's the kind of stuff Hollywood does. You know,
Stop calling the man Hollywood.
That's what he calls him. That's what he want to be recognized as, you know. You know, he wears his producer hats and all that stuff. You know, Hollywood is something else, you know. We all like Vincent Hughes. You know, he's that guy, you know. Don't tell you the truth all the time, but he's that guy. He don't do much, but he's still that guy, you know. It's just some people in the neighborhood that, you know, get away with stuff, and he's one of them. You know, but that's the whole key, is that when they had all that money on the table for rent subsidy and mortgage subsidy, they left it on the table. Now all of a sudden you're gonna say you're gonna come up with a bill that gives somebody $600 or $700, and you're supposed to forgive all that. Forget that you had to pay mortgage, you had to pay like water, you had to pay insurance. You know, you had to pay all that stuff on the building while these people were living free. And now they're going to tell you, oh, well, you know, it was hard. Okay, but it was hard. Who's going to take care of my part?
Yeah.
You know,
so what? Okay, so
grip.
here's my question to you. So what's the solution that you have, George?
Well, I mean, if a person owns a building, it ain't no solution. You got to come up with that money. The state got money. Tell the state to pay off everybody's tab like they was going to do before. Like Trump sent that money in here, and they blew it. I mean, what we going to say? All them elected officials telling you, oh, well, we didn't know nothing about it. And then the other ones tell you, well, the paperwork was just too complicated. I mean, you telling me what to do about it. The money was there that they could have done something, but they didn't.
All right, so I'm gonna follow up on that too, George. I'm gonna get Senator Hughes back on to talk about some of this stuff and what can be done. I ain't gonna call him Hollywood though. I'm not being disrespectful, so we're not gonna do that. But I will find out, and then I'm gonna reach out to Commissioner Outlaw's office. I'm gonna text Brianna while I'm thinking about it because I will forget. But thank you, George. Thank you for calling, honey. You have a good day, okay? All right, bye. What happened to George, Eric? Maurice from Southwest, how are you?
Mother.
Hey, sir, what's going on?
George ain't never lie.
Jesus Christ. This is like a 1-2 punch.
Everything George said was true, so I'm not even going to back up what he said, because if you didn't listen, that's your problem, because he ain't never lied on the radio on you yet. He never embarrassed you when the things he said, and you say, oh, George told a lie. He hasn't done it. But let me break something down to you. Not beside the police commission. I got somebody just as good to have on.
Okay.
Have the president of the Guardian Civic League come on and ask us what are those black cops are doing.
That's the woman that's in charge of the... I'm looking at her face. Is she still the president?
I thought it was a guy.
So Why am I blanking on her name? I'm looking at Rochelle Bellal.
No,
she's no longer the president.
Now. No,
okay.
She's the sheriff now. She left that position. They got a black guy now that's head of the Guard civilly.
What's his name?
I don't know his name because he doesn't come out of his shell. See, if he came out more, he should be reaching out to you. See, this is what I'm saying. He represents black officers. When they ever have a problem or trouble with the union, he goes in as be the guy in the middle to solve the problem.
Okay.
And where are they at with all these murders? I mean, anybody know about? There's nobody white getting killed. That's the problem. People don't understand. We got 500 murders, but I tell you right now, I know that less than 50 were white. See, this is a black problem.
But if the murders are happening in most of where black and brown people live, you wouldn't expect too many white folks to get murdered, right?
Right. Well, I know this much. If white folks was getting murdered like black folks, we'd be under lockdown.
Well,
and that's the truth, and you know it. And please don't let a white child get in the middle of a shooting. We would have to check before we go out our door where we was going and when we'd be back. See, I used to be a correctional officer, so I know the difference on how white officers play when something happens to a white officer and what happens to a black officer. I know the difference.
So I'm going to ask you the same thing that I'm asking that I asked George. What is your solution, Maurice? What is your solution to this?
What we got to do is stop talking that nonsense about that we hate cops. The only way to change the police system is to be the police. We got to get our people in there. You only can make a change from the inside out. You can't make it from the outside in. You know, the last two graduation classes, the first one had no blacks. I don't know exactly how many they had in the second class, but it wasn't much. If we're not in the game, why are we playing it?
Okay, I got you. So you're saying we need to become police officers. Yeah, I got it. So you're saying we need to become police officers, right?
Right. We need to get all involved, and we need to get somebody in city council that's not part of the machine. The last election we had for city council, we had people talking about, when we have all these black people in City Hall, we're going to be really doing things. Oh, no. They bring them in. They get folded into whatever they was doing before because you haven't heard one thing from one of the new representatives standing up about something, especially when they decided to extend the abatement 3 years. You didn't hear not one person stand up and say, I'm not for that.
Right.
See, they just fold in. And see, Mother, we be trying to tell you, you allow us. I'm grateful for you. You allow us to express ourselves because when we talk to other people, I'm not going to say who they are because I respect them, they're scared to let us talk and tell the truth. And where is the black clergy?
Well, so the black clergy is on every Tuesday. At least one. Dr. Alan Waller. I talked to him. I'm going to ask. Sugar Phillips just wrote. Find the guns. Where are the guns missing from the police department?
No. This is the thing. I have nothing against Pastor Waller. I'm trying to say he can't stand alone. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Agreed. Okay.
It's a whole lot of black clergy and some black clergy in the city that's higher than him. That has the power, but where are they at? Where are they speaking about these incidents? You know, about the murders, and the reason is you can't police the murders because you got to have a reason for these people to put down the guns. And if you don't give them a reason, you got to give them some job training, some job education. If you're not offering that, why are they putting the guns down? That's all I'm saying. I'm just talking common sense. I don't have a college education, but guess what? I know them streets.
Okay, so I just heard Crystal Coleman is the president of the Guardian Civic League of Philadelphia. It's not a man, it's a woman.
But that's new because that last time they talked, there was a man talking, so I guess she stepped up and took over because he wasn't doing nothing.
Okay.
Whoever they said was representing. But how come she hasn't been against onWURD? It's the only black radio station in the state. How come she hasn't stepped up?
Well, so let me just say this. For me, unless they call and ask, it's incumbent upon me and my producers to reach out to these people to ask them to come on. They more than likely will not come and say, we want to come talk to you, right?
No.
Some folks do. But
I understand that. Listen,
okay.
I do understand how this radio system works. But if you was a concerned citizen, a about black people, and you know you run the black police, you're their mouthpiece, how come you haven't reached out to any host and asked them, hey, look, let me tell you what's going on? They have not. Any host. Call me.
Okay.
They can find me. I'm the one complaining.
All right, so you done complaining. Lord, Maurice, you can make my left kidney hurt. All right, honey.
Let me tell you this.
What?
Before you was talking about kidney operations before. I remember that show, right?
Uh-huh.
You know I'm a double transplant patient.
Yes, I do. Uh-huh.
Okay, I just want you to know that.
Oh, I know, honey. That's why, see, you when I talk to people like you, makes me take care of the beaties, you know? Makes me keep my diabetes.
I have 4 kidneys right now.
Listen, blood sugar levels come down, all of that good stuff, so I can hold on to my kidneys until
and I want to close with this. Then I can finish my dancing career. You understand?
You know what? Goodbye. Bye, Maurice. Have a good one, honey. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we will be right back after these messages.
This message is from the Philadelphia Department of Public Health. COVID-19 is still a threat in our communities, but we can all do something simple to help stop the spread. It's critically important to wear a mask or face covering whenever you're in public or around others. Yes, even while social distancing. Wearing a mask shows you care for yourself and your community and is essential to slowing the spread of COVID-19. So love yourself, love your neighbors, wear a mask.
You're never completely ready to adopt a teen.
For late nights writing English papers.
For your teen's music taste.
For dinners, where they talk more on their phone than with you.
For the first time, they call you Mom.
You're never completely ready to adopt a teen, and you can't imagine the reward.
To learn more about adopting a teen, visit adoptuskids.org.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Independent Black Media. WURD TV. We're streaming live video of this conversation right now. Tune in on YouTube at onWURD or on Facebook at ForWord. WURD TV. Black Talk Media.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. You know, when George and Maurice from Southwest called in, where's Maurice from Northwest? North. Where's Maurice from now? I have not heard from him in months. I want to make sure he's okay. When George and Maurice from Southwest calls in, it lights up this Facebook page. People are just like, oh my God. So, you know, get people talking. I'm moving right along now because, again, Mother loves the young people. Ramir Jones, I want to make sure that I said that properly. Ramir Jones is a Millennial Advisory Committee member of the Mayor's Office of Youth Engagement, where the Philadelphia Youth Commission ensures that the decisions made for youth involve youth in Philadelphia. As part of their mission statement, advising the city on policies and issues that affect millennials and connecting young people with opportunities for civic engagement. Ramir is, am I saying your name properly?
Yes, Ramir.
Yes, Ramir is committed to bringing forth the change that he wants to see. Recently, at a community engagement event, he made such an impact that everyone couldn't stop thanking him and agreeing with his raw, candid, oh, we gonna have a good time, Ramir. The current issues that are facing in the city of Philadelphia. One of his many comments were anger doesn't solve a problem to manifest into creative or positive things. Come on, start talking to Mother. How are you, sir?
I'm great. Thank you for having me here. How are you?
I am so good. You know, I have a reputation for loving the young people. So whenever somebody say I'm going to talk to somebody young, I'm like, all right, bring them on. How old do you have to? We're going to have some
fun today.
Yes, sir. How old do you have to be a part of the Millennial Advisory Committee?
So I'm actually on the Philadelphia Youth Commission, which is actually the little brother and sister of the Millennial Youth Advisory Committee. So we advise youth from the ages of, let's say, when you're first born all the way up to 21. So we're basically, you know, advocating when it comes to policies, anything that has to involve youth. So when it comes to millennials, you know, they specialize in that, and then we specialize in our generation.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
the actually on the commission, I believe the starting age is around 14, and then at 21 you actually age out.
Oh, so that's for the Youth Commission, 14 to 21. And then for the Millennial Advisory Commission, like, how old do you have to be for that?
So in that commission, you actually have to be a millennial, which I believe is like 22 and up,
22
so around
and up.
that age range.
Okay. All right. All right. Okay. And what do you have to do to become a youth commission, part of the Philadelphia Youth Commission or the Millennial Advisory Commission?
So the biggest component to that is you actually have to be recommended by a council member. So I was actually recommended by council member Isaiah Thomas, where he said, okay, here's a candidate that we can use to really advocate for the youth. You know, I'll vouch for them. They have work that's credible and stuff like that. And then after that, you go through, you know, a little interview and also submit your credentials and everything.
Okay, got it. So, yeah. Okay, so you are, how long have you been on this panel, on this commission?
I was sworn in January. So last January, this will make it about a year now.
So you've been there for a year. I'm asking you all these questions because I'm getting to the meat of all of this. What have you noticed in the year that you have been on this commission, and why are you now considered one of those young people that are speaking up vociferously on behalf of your peers?
So being a part of the commission, it really lets me into inside the government. So in school, you know, government may not be a big part of your curriculum, especially if you don't have a political science or government class. Being able to attend, let's say, council member meetings, to read over legislation, and even look over policies, it really gave me an insight into, like, what it's like to be a part of a government and be a part of these political activities. So that's one of the biggest things that I was able to see while being a part of the Youth Commission. But I haven't just recently became an advocate for youth. Like I said before, this has always been a passion for me. So this was nothing but amplifying my voice, which is really needed when, you know, you're trying to push your agenda and trying to get things done.
All right. So what have you noticed?
So I noticed that a lot of the time we have politicians. Now, the kids, I would say, are not in touch with the politicians. So if I go to a neighborhood, let's say West Philly, and I ask them who is their city council member, you know, who's in charge of their district, they won't be able to tell me. Now, if you ask me to list off 5 city council members, I'm able to do it off the top of my head, which I find that very peculiar that the people who are making a lot of the decisions in our community, we don't know them. You know, we're not in touch with them, and I find that very weird because we should know them because they represent us.
So you're speaking to something that I have been saying in some private conversations. Why is it that we're not working with the people who are in the community that are making the decisions? So what is your solution to that?
So sometimes when it comes to me, I think about, like, the age gap. So, you know, in order to be a city council member, I believe you have to be 35 years of age or older. So that right there is already a big gap between
Are you sure you have to be 30? Is that true?
I'm not sure if it's 35, but I think the last time I checked, that was the age.
So you have to be 35 years or older to become a city council member?
Yes, from my knowledge.
Okay, all right, I'm going to check it out. But, okay, keep going, honey. So I see where you're going with this. Okay, all right. And so what do you think should happen?
So with that, I think the Youth Commission was a great thing to really advocate for, because, like I said, if they're out of touch with us, how can you connect us together? And then the city came up with, like, hey, if we give every council member 1 to 2 students, 1 to 2 youth who's able to connect us to them, that's a great way for us to have that connection and be able to hear the things that they're saying. So, you know, for us not to be connected and then for us to then be connected through other youth, I feel like that's a great way of thinking outside of the box and being innovative when it comes to connecting 2 generations.
All right, so have you been able to make an impact in that area yet since you're a part of the Youth Commission? Have you been able to connect city council with the people in the community, the youth in the community?
So I've definitely been able to connect schools with city council members, which is where a lot of students are. You know, everybody in Philadelphia who attend school are able to. Let me rephrase that. Every child in Philadelphia goes to school. So for us to be able to connect city council members to schools, it's basically a way of saying that, yo, every student in Philadelphia will be able to meet a council member, and then that then means that every, student revolves back to every youth. So, like, all the kids in Philadelphia will be able to connect with a council member if we get all the council members into the schools. So I think outside of the box like that, how can we get everybody together instead of us going to them? So, sometimes an area may be real big. So instead of going out into the fields everywhere, we bring them to us. Little stuff like that is how you think, okay, how can I make my voice bigger and make everyone hear me?
Right, and in light of the pandemic that we're in now, it's even easier, right? So we can do a Zoom meeting, or any kind of platform that they want to use, a Facebook Live, and connect schools and students. That would be a great civic lesson, to connect schools and students to city council members so that they can talk to them about what the process is. How can they learn? Because it's part of the way that we get students as they become 18 years or older to want to vote, right? So that they can feel like they will have a voice and that their votes will count. Have you been able to talk to? I know Isaiah Thomas loves young people, right? I know he was part of a basketball program, and that every time I talk to someone about him, they're always talking about how he's been involved and engaged in the community as it applies to young people. Where do you see room for improvement as you've been on this youth council now? Where do you see room for improvement other than getting the city council people to meet with the students? Because that's a good idea. But where else do you see room for improvement? And for example, here's what I'm getting ready to ask you. There's so much going on in the school districts right now, in the schools, right, in the buildings.
Right.
How can the students get to so someone just sent me a text that says the city council age minimum is 25, not 35.
Oh, that's great.
So yes, so that's great. So you can be 25 years old and run for city council. That was so phew. So it's like 35. Lord have mercy. All right, so you can be 25.
Mixed up.
That's all right. That's all right. So now you can run for city council, right? Would you ever be interested in running for city council?
Definitely. I feel like the city council seat, it holds a lot of power, and then on the local level, like, it can't change a lot on the state level or even on the federal level, but if you're really focusing on your communities, you can advocate for a lot of things that they really need.
Right. Such as you live in the community, Ramir. What do you see in the community now as an immediate need that is not being taken care of?
So the biggest need that I see in the communities is the violence, and specifically gun violence. And then also another need that is even more pressing because of the gun violence is like trauma. So like us not being in schools, and then with schools not having as many counselors, we're even more out of touch with the mental health aspect of our lives. So just think about that. We're not in schools, so we're not receiving that support. Our parents are trying to work if they can work, and if they can't work, they're worrying about how they're paying their bills. So, like, the mental aspects that plays on the life of a kid is like, okay, you have to grow up now because there's so many things coming at you, and you haven't really learned to cope with everything in a fast enough manner.
You touched on something that I spoke with a school district official the other day about, who had the same concern as you, Ramir. She said, I'm really concerned about the mental health of our young people. So you've been talking to, you've had now online schooling for a while, and you have been talking to young people because they've been at home. And you're right. I've heard teachers say they hear dogs in the background, parents screaming, take out the trash. Folks are just, soap operas playing in the background, or folks are just generally tired, and there's a malaise of, I don't know where I'm going to get the next dollar from to do what I need to do to make sure we can keep the roof over our head. So as you're talking to your peers, Ramir, what are they saying to you about all of this?
So one of the biggest things that I hear my peers saying that their opportunities are being stripped from them. Their environments that they strive in, they're no longer in. So like I said, school isn't just there for you to learn. It's also a safe place, a safe environment, a place for you to go where you've learned how to learn, where you've learned how to live. during the school year, about a third of our life is spent in the school, rooms and buildings. So for us not to have it, it's like, yo, what do I do from here? So I'm hearing a lot of kids saying, hey, school was my safe place. I would go there. I would have a peace of mind. I would be able to get away from my parents and friends and a lot of the negative environment. Schools typically have positive environments where you're able to grow and flourish, where at home it may not be the same case, and that may be your getaway. Now, also on the flip side, a lot of students depend on schools and even sports for opportunities when it comes to funding for college or even scholarships. So for me, I'm a football player. The other football players, the other athletes, they're serious with not being able to play sports at all because, one, it may be their ticket out of the city. If you no longer have that football scholarship, how are you paying for college? You may not be there academically to be able to do that. So just thinking about that, it's kind of hard to really keep doing what you've been doing when you're no longer in the environment that you've been doing it in.
Yes. Jesus. And so as you're thinking about those kinds of things, and you don't have the environment to, wow. Whew. Okay, Ramir. So what have you come up with? Because you can't play football, right, for obvious reasons. You're looking for scholarships. Who have you spoken to at the school level, the school district level, around what does that mean for you in terms of scholarships? How long before you graduate from school, high school?
So I actually have a year and a half left. I'm a junior.
Okay, you're a junior. Okay. And have you spoken to anybody at the school level about this?
So at my school, we're fortunate enough to have 2 full-time counselors. So, they haven't been as in touch with us as they've been before, because before we would have assemblies, they would come in, give their spills, we would have announcements and stuff like that. Now it's more on an email basis where we have to reach out to them. So for me personally, we have emails that they blast to all the students in school. Hey, Friday we're having a meeting with this school, and they're doing programs for X, Y, and Z, which that's traditional in a way, but it's still not the same way of being connected as we're used to. So that's hard for us. But those counselors are really our support system right now because they're the ones that are advising us to move. We can reach out to them and they can tell us stuff, but it's not as much of a just send it out there. If you don't read your emails, you won't hear from them. Some of our students don't do that on a daily basis. They may take it once a week, and if that happens, you may miss an opportunity. And then also on my side, sometimes I may forget things. So usually the counselors, they could come up to class like, hey, Ramir, don't forget to finish that report. Now that nagging in the way is over there, so we may miss opportunities that we should have had.
Got it. So instead of having that gentle push to remind you to do certain things, you don't have that anymore. And because everything is online, you can't, sometimes the counselors don't read your stuff until a week or so later. It's a lot. Ow. So, as I'm talking to you, I'm hoping that the adults who are listening to this conversation, school district and otherwise, city council members, what do you think could help to alleviate some of the concerns that you're having right now?
So just a big thing of representation. On the flip side of that, which these people that you just spoke about, they all represent us. Getting our voices heard. So, those town halls really mean a lot to a lot of students because they hear something that you may have not thought. At the end of the day, you've been a kid before, but you're not currently a kid. So sometimes, there's new things that come about that you may not know about, or even new ideas that you have not thought about. So, hearing these new thoughts, hearing out, all the kids and their emotions and everything could trigger something in you to really make a push for a big difference. And like I said, if you're not in touch with us, how are you going to know what's best for us if you're not hearing from us?
Yeah. Can I just tell you, I am so enjoying this conversation with you. I really am.
Thank you.
I'd love to talk to you more often because you're hitting on all the issues that I have been having with adults around me, all the conversation, and the adults who are in the buildings and outside of the buildings, but are all school district employees keep saying the same thing. What's going to happen to the mental health? So you're home with your peers, that are around you. You can't all go hang out and play basketball and whatever else you want to do, or just to even go out on the side of the walk and talk to each other. when you are able to reach to your peers at the junior, senior, sophomore level, how are they managing? What are they saying? And what advice have you been offering them, if any?
So when it comes to managing a lot of the obstacles that we're going through right now, I'm just really emphasizing adaptation. So, adapting to the new environments that's going about and really trying to figure out how can it change and change for the better. So when it comes to not being able to do a lot of things, you have to find an alternative to it. So you may not be able to talk to your friends, in the group at school no more during lunch, but that still doesn't mean you can't FaceTime them or even set up meetings. You may not be able to study in person, but that still does not mean you can't have study groups. Sometimes it's hard to play football by yourself, but since you can't play with 22 people on the field, maybe practicing one-on-one might be cool because it's less of a danger to you. At the end of the day, we have to think about how your life is at stake. So even though you may have a short-term satisfaction, it's not worth the long-term problems that will come from it. So, just keep on, one, motivating each other, and then two, adapting to the new scenarios.
Wow. Oh, my gosh. I just asked the producers to pull this interview. Every day we pull a couple of interviews from each radio show and compile them. I'm going to, not only I'm going to ask them to pull it, Eric, after you pull it, send a copy of this interview. I want you to hear yourself, Ramir. I want you to hear just how well thought out you are about all of this. And I want you to hear how you are a constant reminder for those of us who are adults that we're not to dismiss your thoughts and your feelings and your expression, because you've literally given Jesus at least 7 solutions in the time that I'm talking to you. And oftentimes I talk to adults who have all kinds of issues but can't give me one solution, right? You talked about,
right.
You can't be in person, but you can FaceTime your friends. That is true. You can see them via FaceTime. You can't work together and study, but you can do study groups online. You can't play football in large clutches, but you can practice one-on-one, right? You're saying
right.
Don't let the long-term dissatisfaction harm you. The short-term dissatisfaction harm you for your long-term goals, right? So to have some motivation, you are rocking this interview. Do you hear what I'm saying to you? You are absolutely rocking this interview. How are your parents, and what are they thinking about these roles that you're having now, that you're in now?
So, actually, just to put a little background into it, my mom is a home health aide, so she goes out into the field every day to help out or whatever. Now, my dad, he right now, he's still not with a job as an unemployment and stuff like that. So right now, my dad is taking on much of the brunt labor of watching us during school. And actually, my little siblings, my little brother and sister, their daycare was just closed down because of a COVID outbreak. Now, luckily, they wasn't there during the time because the COVID outbreak just happened, but they was home. But now he has an extra layer of stress that he has to deal with. So just thinking about it like this, you're home, you have 5 children. Now you have but so much room in one house to where, okay, you get the back room, you get the front room, you get downstairs, the kitchen, the living room, things like that. Now before you talked about how you may hear karaoke in the background, music, jumping, etc. Now in a bigger household, that's a lot of the things that are happening. And somehow we have to deal with it. Now, another thing that we have to deal with that I see constantly is that he may have to prepare lunch for 5 different schedules. And I find that very, stressful. I got to cook at 10, 11, 12:30, then 3 he got a snack and stuff like that. So, that right there is more strain on him. Even though he may not be working, what if he does go back to work today or tomorrow? What is he supposed to do? So, just on our side, we have to go through the motions of dealing with everyone every day. And then on his side, it's like the break isn't really there to come back. Like, once I'm done with this kid, I then have to go to check on this kid. And then, like, my little brother, he's 7. So he only knows how to do but so much on the computer. So sometimes my dad has to walk him through it. Sometimes I have to if he's busy. So, just putting those different responsibilities on people that really shouldn't have them. I'm in school. Sometimes I had to take a break to help my little brother answer a question when I'm trying to answer my questions.
Right. My God, every school district employee needs a copy of this interview. You have laid it out to rest so that people can understand what the complications are in home, right? And we don't think about the adults. You're right. The strain on the adult who is trying to still find a job, but still trying to take care of the students. You're home trying to get your work done, but has to make sure that the younger siblings get what they need done. Daycare has a breakout of COVID. Oh, my goodness. You laid it all out. I want you to tell your mother and father this. From me. Just say, Andrea Lawful Sanders, I talked to her today. Tell them I said they have done an amazing job with raising you. That you're wonderful. Please do. Tell them that you were able to convey in a way that everybody in this listening audience can gather what exactly is going on, not just at the Millennial Advisory Committee level, the Philadelphia Youth Commission. You talked about the connection between young people and the city council people. You talked about what it would require for you to run to become a city council member. You talked about how to connect city council to the young people. And you talked about the ramifications of not being in school, the trauma that is involved, and that, you know, the long-term and short-term stuff that's going on there when you can't reach the counselor or you don't have the person nudging you to go get what you need to do. You have literally aced this interview. I could not have done this better myself. Do you hear what I'm saying to you?
Thank you.
Amazing. So thank you so much, Ramir. I'd like to be able to talk to you some more. But in the meantime, enjoy the rest of your day off. I'm going to make sure that this interview gets not only into your hands. When I get it into your hands, you share it however you see fit. Stay on the line and give your email address to Eric, and he will pass it on to me. And I'll make sure that Brianna gets it over to you. Okay?
Okay, thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for being a wonderful guest. Talk to you soon. All right? Bye, honey. When I tell you I love the young people, he laid it out to rest. He had solutions. He talked about the things that were going on in the family-wide family. When I said to him, you know, there's dogs in the background, he said, yeah, house is not but so big. You can't be, but somebody might be upstairs. Somebody might be in the kitchen. Somebody might be in the living room. There's not but so much room in the house. And if you have 5 children, which in this case is in his house, there are 5 different schedules, 5 different kinds of lunches. Dad's trying to hold it down while mom is going out to work because dad lost his job. Come on. If you have any kind of a heart, once you've heard this interview, then it'll make sense. We have to find ways to adjust and adapt, like Ramir says, instead of judging. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is a number to call in. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we will be right back after these messages.
Hey, WURD family. Our friends at Amoroso's Baking Company are hiring right now. Amoroso's has been baking the delicious bread in our community for over 100 years, and they want you to join their team today. The old and the young love Amoroso's, and they are hiring right now. Check it out. They offer fair pay and provide health, dental, and prescription plans after 90 days employment. Call 856-754-0355 or visit amorososbaking.com for details.
You know that feeling? Like every door is closing and you just can't see a way out? Being unemployed, underemployed, or just out of school can feel like that. But when you find the right tools, suddenly everything just clicks. FindSomethingNew.org offers resources that help develop new skills. Skills that can position you for careers in today's growing industries, from healthcare and manufacturing to cybersecurity and alternative energy. Find your path to a new career at FindSomethingNew.org. A message from the Ad Council.
WURD TV. We're streaming live video of this conversation right now. Tune in on YouTube at onWURD or on Facebook at ForWord. WURD TV. Black Talk Media.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. If you are just joining us, I had Ramir Jones on the line. He is a part of the Youth Commission, the city of Philadelphia, where you're 14 to 21. You could be on it. He is a junior in high school in the school district of Philadelphia, and he laid it out flat about what his role is, how can city council members actually work more with schools and students and talking to them. And, you know, he's talking about the fact that, you know, it's a shame you have to be 35, but we looked up, I got it from 2 separate sources, that you have to be 25. So I asked him if he was planning to run for city council. This is the future leadership of this city. I asked him what was going on, how were people managing, young people managing in the coronavirus right now, and he laid it out. He said, look, we're struggling. These are the things we're going through, you know, what's happening in our homes, you know, and he gave some solutions. I was just smiling as he was talking to me. I was like, if we could just get adults to just pay attention and say, these are the solutions, instead of, you know, trying to one-up one another. Like, let's just sit down and figure out a solution that'll work for most. He was amazing. So I'm moving right along. This last half an hour of the show is going to be just me talking to you, and you're calling in. So if you'd like to call in and talk to me, now is the time to do it. Please don't wait till 11. Why is my skirt? Lord, I don't even want to tell you. Okay. Don't wait until 3:45 or 3:50 when I'm getting ready to get off the air to call me. You know, call me now so we can talk if you want to talk, right? I'm going to go through some things that have been on my mind here. The Daily Beast wrote a piece, a woman, Daphne Goggins from Philadelphia. She's a Philadelphia activist who urged black voters to join the GOP. She died from COVID-19. This was published yesterday, January 4th, written by Araya Hajat. She's a cheat sheet breaking news intern. Hilarious. I'm loving these titles. It says Daphne Goggins, a former Philadelphia mayoral candidate, because she ran for mayor of this city against Jim Kenney, and voracious supporter of President Donald Trump, died of COVID-19 on December 30th. The Philadelphia Inquirer reported on Monday. Goggins gained notoriety in 2017 for calling the white nationalist rally in Charlottesville, Virginia, a hoax on CNN. She would briefly run for mayor in 2019, dropping out of the race after accusing the Philadelphia Republican Party of being not ready at this time to support a minority candidate. Goggins leaves behind 3 children, according to a GoFundMe set up to help her family. So I was reading this on Facebook, and someone says, well, if she supported President Trump so well, why did they have to do the GoFundMe, that somebody should pay for her funeral? But yeah, it's been interesting. That happened there. So she's gone, died from COVID-19. I suspect it won't be the last one we've heard from. This one was sent to me by Eleanor Pinkett, and I'm glad she did. Michelle London Bell wrote this piece on December 21st, 2020. Dr. Randall D. Pinkett, which is Eleanor Pinkett's son, second-born son, and is also a member of our family. She sent this article to me that was written by urbanmediagroup.com. When Dr. Randall Pinkett speaks, business leaders around the world listen. As CEO of BCT Partners and one of the few African Americans to have worked closely with President Donald Trump in a business context, he is uniquely qualified to lead a national discourse on racial equity in America. On the heels of the 2020 presidential election, in the midst of divisive party politics, and as economic hardships impact so many, particularly African Americans, there has never been a more important time than now to address racial equity. 2020 is a moment of tragedy. Hi, Randy. So you see, I see Randy all the time for family events. So it's nice to see his face on an article. 2020 is a moment of tragedy, and it's also a moment of opportunity. A pivotal moment in a pivotal year, Dr. Pinkett explains. The confluence of George Floyd's murder against the backdrop of COVID-19 produced a different outcome than if either event was in isolation from each other. Dr. Pinkett is committed to transforming this moment into a movement. Over the past few months, he has led open and transparent discussions with members of the business and political community about racial inequities, racial myths and stereotypes, as well as the 4 dimensions of racism. I need to get Randy on the line. I need to get him back on the air so I can talk to him. It's clear that many people truly don't understand these dimensions, as he was forced to dissect the different levels of racism. Dr. Pinkett explains, personal as reflected in our beliefs, interpersonal as reflected in our behaviors, institutional as reflected in the culture of organizations, and systemic representing barriers that exist across institutions. Racism has spurned redlining in communities across America. Racism prevents highly educated and qualified African Americans and Hispanics from accessing C-level and executive positions in Fortune 500 companies. Racism prohibits African American business owners from accessing capital and loans to invest in and grow their businesses. Dr. Pinkett's forthcoming book, Black Faces in High Places, was written as a narrative to address these negative forces and more as he pulls back the curtain on the power structure that exists and the isms that are alive today. Dr. Pinkett even explores the nuances of white privilege and unpacks President Trump's lack of racial understanding due to the lack of substantive interaction with people different than him and a lack of fundamental understanding of the issues that affect people different than him. His book gives readers a deep, introspective look into these conversations and the outcome produced from this moment in time. New local and federal policing reforms have been instituted, and due to the civil unrest backlash to police brutality, voters took to the polls to elect officials that champion healthcare equity due to the disproportionate amount of minorities affected by COVID-19. These are important and impactful responses, but the outcome Dr. Pinkett is more interested in is corporate America's response. He's focused on how companies are embracing, acknowledging, and taking action. For example, Forbes asserts that CEOs from American Express, AT&T, Bank of America, Delta Airlines, Nike, and more pledged to hire and train 1 million black workers over the next 10 years as their response to the movement. Accountability, he says, is key. When the proverbial question of where do we go from here arose in these conversations, Dr. Pinkett uncovered the need to not only dismantle the power structures that permeate all aspects of society and make these structures more inclusive, but also to tie CEO compensation to tangible numbers on inclusivity. That sort of lasting change demands a certain type of leadership. That's right. We need leadership that's able to see American citizens and all the diversity that is represented. Many of our leaders have no life experiences that have given them the ability to do that. And as someone who is more embracing and more understanding and, quite frankly, more humbled about what he does not know, this is the leadership we need to move our country in the right direction. I'm going to pause right here and say this to all of you. I was at an event 2 Decembers ago that was led by black folks. Bob Bogle from the Tribune with some luncheon, PA Society, and the president and CEO of the Blue Cross stood up and began a whole conversation around this kind of, stuff about, implicit bias, accountability, what does that look like? And as I'm hearing him talk, I'm seeing the black folks in the room squirming. So since I don't have the sense God gave me, I paid attention to the squirming and I said, something is wrong here. So I raised my hand and I said to him, really nice man. And I'm telling you this because at the end of our conversation, he came over to me and said, you hit the nail on the head. I'm literally going back to my office and I'm going to see what I can do to change things. And I said, so you're leading this conversation now around racial equity. How many people in your organization are people of color? And of those people of color, how many of them in the C-suite? Crickets, right? One woman was in the room, Marshall Blake, Dr. Marshall Blake, and she was, she says, yep, we're doing some things and we're working on some things and we're getting some things together. But the fact of the matter is what I was talking about at Blue Cross is a microcosm in organizations across this country. CEOs of American Express, AT&T, Bank of America, Chase, Wells Fargo, all of them. It would be good to see, and I believe Wells Fargo has quite a clip of black and brown folks at higher level and higher echelons of their organization. But every one of these organizations need to become more responsible and more accountable for the black folks. It is not okay for you to say we have 14% of black and brown people in the organization and 13.5% of them are in the lower levels, starting from the janitorial staff all the, to mid manager range. Can't even get into the C-suite, right? And to get into the C-suite is hell. Not not only to get there, but to stay there is hell, because I have quite a few friends that are in the C-suite. I talk to them all the time. We'll not be naming them here, but it's not only is it hell, it's hell to stay in the C-suite, right? Because there's a different level of accountability that you are held to when you are there. And so, you know, this conversation, if we can get more folks in corporate America to advance, they get the degrees, they have the PhDs, they go through all the stuff that they need to get into those at those levels, and yet when they get there, well, we only have enough room for one of you. Well, you know, you're too young. Well, you're young enough. You're too young to have this level of power. And I've had friends who have been told that, who were in their 30s, were walking into the C-suite and were told, "Nah, we can't make you CEO of this organization because while you qualify on paper, we think you're too young." You know, and we don't know if a black person leading this organization is going to make it better. You know what I mean? Just all kinds of things that we hear. And so black women particularly in the C-suite have found ways to manage by having really interesting conversations. And we all talk. We go on vacation and we lay out in the water and we make plans. They have to literally find spaces where they can be safe to have those kinds of dialogue. Dr. Randall Pinkett, Black Faces in White Spaces, that book has been a good one. And quite frankly, even though he's a family member, he is my husband's cousin. Even though he's a family member, when we come to family gatherings, I don't have these kinds of conversations with him because, quite frankly, I'm sure he's exhausted and so am I. But what I'm going to do is work with Brianna to get him on the air so that he can have this conversation with all of you around this piece. So thank you, Eleanor Pinky. Thank you, Aunt Eleanor, for sending this to me because I would not have done it. I'd like to be able to talk to him about this piece about racial equity in America and where do we stand. So that's one thing. Oh, Lord. So then there's another piece that was written by the Associated Press. America can't deny the impact of black voices, so why do we continually disrespect them? This was written by Felix Mumo, January 4th, 2021 at 2:05 p.m. Nobody can deny the power of the black voice, the amazing steps taken from the impact of the black voice. One can't deny the thoughtful, brilliant ideas that changed the world, like the Black Panthers Feed the Children program, which then became what we now lovingly call, and it just went out my head. I just had brain freeze. I'll get back to it. But they took the Black Panthers Feed the Children's program, or black women like Ida B. Wells, who were integral to the success of the women's suffrage movement, but were not acknowledged for it. The black voice has always been a vision for a better future. In this new age of fast information and quick stimuli response, the alt-right has measured how to use its mainstream media to bring change. When there is a problem, example, the COVID restriction of restaurants, the media quickly interviews the owner or manager to get ahead of the story, as opposed to black-related reporting, which is only reported after protests have started. There is no backstory the day before, just the people marching. If an incident happened today and people march 1 week from now, major news would probably start reporting on the week of the march. Pay attention, people. This also applies to black-related tragedies. Insert, a black teen was fatally shot by a police officer in yet another police misconduct. Tamir Rice. His name came into the second sentence because his life was just a statistic. In yet another, placates your anger by normalizing it in your brain in its yet another day type of situation. Insert, Haley McMahon, a 12-year-old girl, has been kidnapped. Notice the difference? The title starts by humanizing her by her name, then her age, and then what happened. Pay attention to how media reports us. It has been proven through many psychological studies that upon hearing bad news, the brain tends to turn off. So any news delivered in a bad news, good news manner will also always be less absorbed than good news, bad news. And that just does not even include the later demonizing of the victim. Example, Botham Jean and marijuana news stories. I wish the media, white-led media, would understand this. If at any one time during these last 4 years, the government did something unacceptable to the alt-right, the alt-right media would put that one particular issue on repeat until it was changed. There would be news reports, discussions, panels upon panels, breakfast rants, etc., to put the government in check. Compare that to how the media covered the Flint water crisis. And come on, I was talking about the Flint water crisis right after, just before Aretha Franklin died. And somebody came on my social media page and said, oh, that was last year news. I'm like, it has not changed. The people are still going through, and you all are pushing it off to the side as if there's nothing is happening there, right? The media couldn't have run out there faster than they did. They must have gotten thirsty. Compare that to how the media treated Governor Ralph Northam's blackface incident in and out of the media faster than you can say tick-tock, right? President Barack Obama was unable to do as much as we had hoped he would do because there was no news media outlets telling Americans what Americans should care about. It's like after the election, black people were convinced that because the most powerful man is in the office, everything is fine. You could be suffering, but everything is fine, not remembering that the president is only as strong as his supporters. Look at how much Trump supporters strengthened him throughout his term and how much he was able to do for them. All the media seemed to do during President Barack Obama's terms was constantly congratulate him for being the first black president and not strengthening him to do what he could have done. Oh, all right, coming on. Everybody took a seat to back politics. All people talked about was America having a black president. If we were to be frank, I see the callers, Eric, and so I'm going to get them in a hot second. They'll be my last group of people that I talk to. If we were to be frank, most of the fights he had and won were mostly by himself. We can't allow that to happen with Biden and Kamala. They are not President Obama. If we remain silent during this 4-year term, they will both revert to their old ways. For the past 5 months, has reverted to their old ways too. And what has happened? I don't know. This whoever wrote this article. A good editor makes all the difference in the world, because this check here, this sentence makes no sense. Remember the police reforms that nobody thought were possible. Companies held accountable. Karens taught a lesson. Systemic racism fought and slowly chipped away at almost every sector. But after the election cycle, suddenly no one cared. No issue is big. No pain matters. Black-related change has only happened every 4 years, and it is clearly not working. The neighborhoods are run down. The schools are underfunded. People are being murdered, brutalized, and harassed in the streets by employees of the state. The black voice is the holy grail of votes. But in this day and age, if it wasn't recorded, it didn't happen. We cannot do it on our own. We need the media more than ever. The media needs to decide if it's a tool of a party or an election cycle or an instrument for the people. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we will be right back after these messages.
Enterprise Exterminators, located 4943 Wayne Avenue, specializing in lanternflies, termites, bedbugs, fleas, mice, and roaches. Do-it-yourself kits are available. Call now, 215-849-7070.
This message is from the Philadelphia Department of Public Health. COVID-19 is still a threat in our communities, but we can all do something simple to help stop the spread. It's critically important to wear a mask or face covering whenever you're in public or around others. Yes, even while social distancing. Wearing a mask shows you care for yourself and your community and is essential to slowing the spread of COVID-19. So love yourself, love your neighbors, wear a mask.
WURD TV. We're streaming live video of this conversation right now. Tune in on YouTube at onWURD or on Facebook at ForWord. WURD TV. Black Talk Media.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. I am being told that I have two people on the same call, Brandon McDonald and Richard Washington. Hello to the both of you.
Hello, good afternoon, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. With whom am I speaking?
Richard Washington.
Richard Washington, how are you? So you're the adult. Where's Brandon?
Hello.
Hi, Brandon. All right, so tell Mother why you called and what you want to talk about.
Well, I came on here to talk about my program because I heard that you were talking about children in our communities not having a lot of resources, and I wanted to share about our outlet that youth throughout Philadelphia and throughout anywhere to come and join our Zoom and talk about all the events that's going on. We have several topics happening every week, and we talk about current events every Saturday at 2 o'clock. And our program, our show is called BET Talks, and we've been doing it since early September. And all topics have been based on Black Lives Matter, anything that you can think of. We've been talking about it, and it's all around the youth like me. It was all around, getting our voices out there, because we're so used to hearing that children aren't supposed to be heard. They're supposed to be seen, not heard. So that's what we decided to push the limits a little bit and decide what are the limits. When do we have to stop? When is it too much? And that's when we do.
If you could see the smile on my face. So thank you so much for calling in. All right. What does BET stands for?
BET stands for bringing everybody together. We are actually a youth program in Philadelphia and the Logan area, and we've been around since 1994. Way before I was born, but I got on a little late, but I still love it here.
Oh my gosh! Since 1994. So when COVID hit, you decided to start a talk show every Saturday. What time does it come on Saturdays? I'm trying to get that in before I talk to Mr. Washington.
2 o'clock every Saturday.
2 o'clock every Saturday. And how can people join it?
Well, you can watch us on Facebook Live, or you can get in touch with some of our resources, as I'm sure Mr. Richard would explain, and actually join us if you would like to.
What is the Facebook page where they can watch this live?
Okay, so you can watch us you can contact us and watch our show at My BC Family My BC Family on Facebook, or Washington on Facebook, which is Mr. Richard's personal, which he records a lot.
I'm not sending them to his personal page because folk are funny. So My BET Family live on Facebook 2 p.m. every Saturday, and you're bringing everybody together. You're talking about all the issues that impact you as young people. How old are you, darling?
I am 13.
Shut up. See. If you could see the smile on my face. I love young people. These are the kinds of conversations I want to have all the time. I love you all. Mr. Washington, come on. Tell Mother how you ended up calling, because I am so excited I can't even help myself. Jesus. This is the good stuff that's happening in Philadelphia, sir.
Well, certainly appreciate you for what you're doing, and thank you, Sister T, for even recommending that we call in. I'm certainly a fan of WURD and all the information that you share. BET itself, again, as Brandon said, we've been around for quite some time, and our purpose really is to provide an opportunity for young people and families just to move forward any kind of way that we want, any kind of way that we can. And Brandon certainly is one of the reasons why the talk show itself started, just as an example, because he was looking to do something to earn a little, stipend over the summer, and so he and a couple of our youth council members, decided to do a show every Saturday, and people can reach us at info, our email address. If they ever want the direct links to the Zoom link, they can email us at info, at mybetfamily.com, or they can give us a call at 267-688.
Hold on, because Mother's writing all this stuff down so they can reach you. No, I'm so serious, man. I'm going to check it out on Saturday. Info at mybetfamily.com to get the Zoom link, right? So if you want to be a part of the conversation and not just watch it on Facebook Live. And then what's the phone number to contact you, sir?
267. 688.
37. 83. Man, I could not have ended this show in a better way. I can't even thank the both of you enough. So when you heard me talking to Jameer, what other solutions do you have, Brandon? Because 13-year-old man, you called all perky, telling Mother all what you have been doing since September. what other solutions do you have for young people in the middle of having to stay home, being impacted by COVID, being killed randomly in the streets, 500 murders in the city of Philadelphia? Tell the adults what they need to know, Brandon.
Well, I think a lot of the adults need to know that, we are sharing. We do see what's going on, and let us be heard. We all have something to bring to the table, so let us all share about what is going on.
Yep. Well, so guess what I'm getting ready to do, Brandon? You ready for this? You ready for this, Brandon? Okay. So guess what I'm getting ready to do? I am going to have my producer reach out to you. When you get off the line, don't hang up. Talk to Eric and give them your email address. I am going to create a space on one of my shows every month so you can bring on yourself and 2 or 3 other leaders that we can talk to. We can even make it a Zoom conversation. Okay? How do you feel about that?
I'm very excited. I'm very, very excited.
You should be, honey.
I appreciate it so much.
You should be, because Marva is going, if we can't bring the stiff-necked adults to Muhammad, we're going to bring Muhammad to the stiff-necked adults, right? And so every month you get to decide what time do you finish school every day?
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock. Okay. So I'm going to make sure that Brianna gets you on. What's your best day, Brandon? Is it Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday to get your people together?
Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday. I would say Thursday.
Thursday. All right, Brandon. We're going to work this out. Thursdays at 2:15. I'm writing this down so that Brianna, I'm going to have you on. And so you get to decide now. We'll either send you the Zoom link for this through WURD radio, and you get to decide 5 or 6 of your friends, and we're going to talk about certain topics. And every month you tell me what topic it is that you want to address. Can you do that, Brandon?
Yes, I'm very excited. I'm very glad to be able to come on here and talk to you all.
Oh, when I tell you, this is what I'm talking about. This is what 2021 should look like. I am over the moaning and the groaning and the complaining. And so I want you all now as young leaders, 13 and up, maybe even younger, to lead these adults into what we can do. You can talk about the things that are impacting you in this city of Philadelphia, school, the community, being shot, not being heard, and your voices being heard. And I am going to give you that platform. You understand what I'm saying to you, Brandon?
Yes, I do.
I'm so excited. Mr. Washington, which one of you decided to call Mother?
Well, I have to give credit to Sister Pete, who's also an avid listener. She's listening now, and she called me, and then I called Brandon. And so we certainly thank her because she knows the work that Brandon and our young people have been doing.
Yes. Thank you, T. I know T. I've known T for years. I spoke to her off and on, but thank you, T. Thank you, Mr. Washington. You all stay on the line and give Eric the information that he needs to know to get to my producer, and let's work this thing out. Now, if you decide you want to do it twice a month and not just once a month, I am willing to accommodate you. I am over the fussing and complaining and not listening to the young people and getting your voices heard. I'm giving you the platform. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Well, we certainly appreciate you. And we're going to have to get you on one of the shows on Saturday as well.
Oh, I'm happy, man. You don't understand. I've been working with young people for over 20 years. I love you all. I hold your feet to the fire, but I bet nobody mess with one of you. Do you understand what I'm saying? I am not playing when it comes to you all, because you're the ones that are going to make sure that we are okay as time goes on, and we cannot afford to dismiss you. We cannot afford to leave you off to the side and pretend that we know best, because quite frankly, life has changed and shifted so much that we, the adults, are still trying to keep up with all the I just got on, what's this thing, Clubhouse and TikTok, and I don't know any of this stuff. I don't know what our children are dealing with every single day. So thank you so much for calling. Thank T for me. Brandon, I'm looking forward to this. Now, you listen. Are you listening, Brandon?
Yes, I am.
I run a really tight ship. My producers will tell you I play 0 games. So every month you've got to come up with your title. What is it that you're going to discuss? You've got to send out who the people are going to be that are going to be under discussion for that month, and we're going to rock it through every single month until you tell me you don't want to do it anymore. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Thank you both so much.
And if you don't mind, as an extended parent, because you know how we do, it takes the village. Brandon, just the only recommendation is that if you get off at 2, you might do better saying 2:45 or 3, even for the sake of other young people.
Okay, got you. So here's what I'm going to say then, because I have a segment that comes on at 3 every single Thursday. Cannot do that. So give me another day, Monday or Tuesday, Brandon, because we're going to make sure that you get in between 2:45 to 3 o'clock. Is that good?
Yes. Tuesday.
Okay.
Tuesday sounds fine.
Okay, Tuesday. Okay. Stay on the line. Give Eric your information, and you will be on with Mova as soon as probably next week, Tuesday. So get yourself together, okay? Let's get you in for the month of January. All right?
All right.
All right. Thank you both so much for calling. What a great way to end the show. Have a good one, and I'll talk to you soon, okay?
You too.
All right. Bye-bye. Woo-hoo! Yes, honey, and thieves for calling to the streets. Mobile is just as tickled. Nothing gets my blood moving like young people who are just about the business of being good, and because that's how they grow. That's how they become the future leaders of tomorrow. We don't have time to shirk and drop them off by the side and tell them what they can't do and who they can't be. We got to get over ourselves, right? And these young people will probably be able to help a lot of these old folks, myself included, because I'm over the age of 50, right? That we constantly talk about the same things over and again. And we keep talking about what is so bad and wrong in Philadelphia. And I knew it. I kept saying to myself, there's so much good happening here that we keep overshadowing because all we keep talking about are all the bad things. So let's get a little both and, shall we, end up in here? Coming up next is Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro. I got a whole new bit of energy, honey. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders. I'll see you when I see you. Goodbye.
Sharper